Welcome in, Panther fans. Breaking news. The Carolina Panthers have hired Frank Reich, and I got to ask all of Panthers Nation, is it the right decision? I don't know, but we're going to figure it out today on the longest running Panthers podcast. We're live chopping up this news, and we want you to be a part of it. The number's 252-228-5098. It's your show today, folks, so get in there. Let's hear your thoughts and your calls. We're going to open up the stream too later on, and we're going to ask one question. Is this the right decision? And I'm going to ask Cody Lashney, my wheelman, that we're going to be talking about this for a long time today, I'm sure, and the days to come, the weeks to come. Good to see you again, my friend.
Good to see you too, brother. Look, we were prepared to go live if we had to because we knew this decision was imminent. Man, a lot of different thoughts, a lot of different feelings that go with this. We got the guy with the resume. We got the guy who's an offensive-minded coach. What does it mean for Steve Wilks? What does it mean for the Carolina Panthers going forward? Man, there's so much to break down about this, Tony. And I'm pumped to be here with my C3 boys, as always. And you know that we're going to do it with the best damn Panther fans in all of YouTube. Drew's in the house. Brad Holt, Carolina M, Choppy 71, CJA, Jarrell Strickland, Joe Riolano in the building. What's up, Joey? We miss you, brother. Leo Factor, Michael Davis, Nathan Siebens, Panther Gal 73, Supernova Moore, Sean McCary, your boy Will, YB Jordan, and Supreme Lita Z. Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
Jump in those comments, smash that thumbs up button. I mean, get on it and smash it. Dance on it, folks. Share the show. We would love for you guys to get the C3 Panthers podcast out there to other Carolina Panthers fans. And a great Panther fan is here, our co-host, our man with the golden pipes, CK. He's such a big fan. This mug takes off work to talk about the damn new head coach.
Yeah, it's I know you guys are used to hearing me on a nice, beautiful mic and in a different area, but different circumstances require you to do things a little differently sometimes. So you're going to hear me here, and already this is both a exciting hire for many Panthers fans, but also a very controversial one due to the other person that's involved that many people wanted the Panthers to hire, and Steve Wilks. Frank Reich has a up and down track record in the NFL, and because of that, I'm not as high on this hire as many others are, but it is exciting to be able to move into the next phase, and let's see what Frank Reich can do with the quarterback that he decides to go with moving forward. And the exciting part is we haven't had an offensive coordinator or offensive-minded head coach in the history of the Panthers organization. That's going to be a bit of a different feel for many Panthers fans who've been here for a long, long time. So this is going to be an experiment, one that I'm ready to root for. I'm not going to be hoping for his downfall or his failure. Quite honestly, I really hope this works out because I am not prepared to go another 3 or 4 years asking for a coach to be fired.
Yeah, coaching hires are stressful and exhausting, but they're a lot easier for me. This one was not a problem for me because just moving away from the Matt Fool was just good enough. You could have put a scarecrow up there and I would have been happier than where we were before. So look, is Frank Reich is the Panthers' new head coach, the 6th head coach in team history, the first, I believe, with a real offensive pedigree, and one like CK mentioned is going to bring, maybe a little division among Panther fans because of the guy that didn't get the job in Steve Wilks and how much he was beloved by Panther fans, how critical he was, I guess, to this kind of bounce back that the Panthers had at the end of the season. So we want to know, is Frank Reich the right decision? The number's 252-228-5098. Let's go ahead and jump into the show. Cody Lack, is the Carolina Panthers have gone out there and they hired Frank Reich. And we heard that this yesterday, the news kind of broke that the team had whittled it down to 2 names in Steve Wilks and Frank Reich, both with head coaching experience. And I'll open the floor to you. Was this the right hire
Was it the Reich hire? You know what?
Stop with it. I mean, you know me, I will keep going.
I know. You have to make the dad jokes. I respect it. Listen, I do think that it's the right move. Now, we're going to talk a lot about Steve Wilks because a lot of people felt very passionately about this, that this was Steve Wilks' job and that he had done enough to earn this job by what he did as the interim head coach. A lot of people agreed with that. Some people not so much. But we've talked about for a long time. If you look at all of the coaches that the Panthers were bringing in, they were all offensive-minded guys. And Tony, you were like, you didn't like the idea of a Ben Johnson or a Stitchen and all these unproven guys just because they've never been in that position before and they would be doing it for the first time with us. I feel like this is the best of both worlds. You get a guy who is tenured. I mean, look, whether we like it or not, Frank Reich has a Super Bowl ring. No one considers Carson Wentz to be a good quarterback in the year of our Lord 2023. However, Carson Wentz had an MVP type of season with Frank Reich as his offensive coordinator. More importantly, and why Big Jordan's in the chat, he already mentioned that he doesn't have a good track record with quarterbacks. Well, I also want to remind everyone that when Frank Reich agreed to be the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, he was going there under the assumption that Andrew Luck was going to be his quarterback. And then literally right before the season, Andrew Luck retires and said, hey, my body can't hold up to this anymore. I'm going to go, I'm going to live the rest of my life. So then Frank Reich, in his 3 subsequent seasons, was left holding the bag for everything that the coach tried to do to fix that quarterback position. They went with a veteran in the form of Phillip Rivers, and his first year as a coach, they made it to the playoffs, and they made it with Phillip Rivers. The very next year, they had Carson Wentz, and again, he couldn't replicate that same success with Carson Wentz, but they still almost made the playoffs. Jonathan Taylor was maybe the best player in all the NFL that year. And then the very next year, the Colts hired Matt Ryan. And I remember me and CK thinking, yeah, it's okay to cheer for Matt Ryan now. No longer a Falcon. He's on the Colts. Maybe Matt Ryan would be what that team needed. And then he just continued to show why he's an older pocket passing quarterback who is very dependent on everything going right around him. I just don't know that it's fair for us to put all of the woes of the Indianapolis Colts quarterback situation completely onto Frank Reich. I think that it's a little bit unfair. And now that he has a clean slate, it's going to be so interesting to see what Frank Reich decides to do at that quarterback position. Does he want to bring Sam Darnold back? Does he want to try and finagle a trade, maybe move up for C.J. Stroud in the draft? So many questions, but in my mind, Tony, my final thought, this is the best of both worlds. You have a coach that's been there before. He has experience doing this. Another thing we haven't mentioned yet, the first quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, this man has a history with the Carolina Panthers. So I think it's the best we could have done. I'm interested to see what happens with Steve Wilks from here on out. Maybe they want to bring him back as a defensive coordinator. I don't know if Steve would be willing to do that. But overall, I'm happy with this. I don't think there's too many other hires that we could have made that are better on paper than this one.
Yeah, I think what Frank Reich does is that when you're in the hiring process, he checks a lot of the boxes. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the boxes of what you're looking for. In fact, I would say he checks them, his score, like his mean score. If you were like saying, we're going to give this for being offensive, we give, there's 3, 1, 2, 3, you grade each question, right? Say we graded each candidate and each question they answered on a 1 to 5 scale. There's probably other guys that answered a couple of questions better than him that had some 5s where he had a 4, something like that. But the collective score was probably among the highest of those candidates when you look at the resume, because he has checked a lot of the boxes. I think if anything, the only guy that probably would check more boxes was Jim Caldwell, honestly, is had just as much experience. I mean, maybe you could say Sean Payton, but that, being brought down by the fact of there's a couple of things with the trade collateral, how much control he wants over the team, and ultimately how much it would freaking cost just for Tepper out of his pocket. Those probably don't make his collective score that great. I want to read a couple of things, just talk about Frank Reich and some of the good things, because there are some questions too about his success in the end. They never won an AFC South title while he was there. But this is by Ben Solak. Have we had Ben on the show? I don't remember.
Yeah, we've had a while ago.
He was writing for The Ringer. He said this, and this was written in November. He said Reich wasn't the problem in Indianapolis, but the team and especially owner Jim Irsay don't appear to be interested in rational decision making right now. Right? He goes on to say this is that this guy, when he was a head coach for the Indianapolis Colts, he won 55% of his games, made 2 playoff appearances in 5 seasons, went 1-2 in the playoffs. He has an offensive background like most NFL head coaches do. In the 4 full seasons he coached the team, they finished 10th, 19th, 12th, and 13th by offensive DVOA. And he did that with 4 different starting quarterbacks. He said maybe he is not the most elite quarterback coach in the league, but if you look at teams that have faced similar turnover at quarterback, those coaches have not made it out alive. And this guy went from Jacoby Brissett to Phillip Rivers, from Phillip Rivers to Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan, and in the process was able to put together formidable offenses, right? So, I mean, that is that he found a way to get production from virtually all of these people in some sort of manner. Like, he just didn't ever touch the bottom of the pool with any of these guys. So he showed he kind of versatile, can do different things with different people potentially. And so he hasn't been bad, while other teams who go through other similar changes in quarterback, he says, for instance, he says the Commanders had 3 different leading passers in the same 4 years, and we're at the bottom 5 of DVOA. So he's in the top echelon. They're in the bottom 5 of that. So that shows his versatility. Like you said, he won a Super Bowl as an offensive coordinator with the Philadelphia Eagles. And to be honest, he did that with 2 different quarterbacks that year, from Carson Wentz to Nick Foles, probably different playing styles on both of them. And now, if there are 2 things that have opened him up to criticism, right, or maybe 3, I would say here are the 3 points of contention that people are going to be cautious and say, look, this is where Frank Reich has to change our mind. Number 1, he never won the AFC South, right? So you didn't have, is that they may have made the playoffs twice, but they did it as wild card, right? On top of that, the second, I think, has got to be the acquisition of Carson Wentz. Frank Reich was, and he admitted to this, he went the next year, he said, I stuck my neck out for Carson Wentz, and that is that he believed that
him on the ass.
Well, in some ways, I want to go back and maybe I wonder if this is sort of revisionist history. I'm going to ask some people that, but in some ways, I mean, he was part of that decision. Now, one of the reasons that the Carson Wentz decision was bad was not only about his play, but how much they gave for him. They gave him a first and a third, and it didn't work out, and they jettisoned him after 1 year. But here is the thing, and this is why I'll ask you about the Carson Wentz, is while Carson Wentz, and maybe this could be seen as an error, I think Carson Wentz threw 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions that year. The real points of contention is that he would fumble the ball a lot. He was fumbling the ball all the time. It was late in games that he continued to be bad. And then on the other hand, I think they lost a bunch of fourth quarter. Like in the fourth quarter, they lost a ton of leads that year, even with Jonathan Taylor being the best back in the league. But I just think this is that, and really, I guess the real cloud of criticism of Carson Wentz began when he just chose not to get vaccinated. And everybody, he missed some camp, right? He missed camp. I don't know if he missed some playing time. And everybody was like, oh, he's not a leader.
Yeah, he became number one.
Yeah, right there it started. So that's kind of like it's like you're going to have to be really good, and then he was mediocre to average to bad. So it was like this. So people didn't want to like him. Then Irsay said he just wasn't tough. And it was Irsay that said, I'm done with this dude. He was calling him out publicly. But I just think this is 27-7. Is that I'm trying to maybe find a silver lining in this, guys, even with the worst one, is that he actually got some juice from the squeeze, even with Carson Wentz, who stunk.
Yeah.
In that case. So, and then the last criticism that I've seen people talking about with Reich is in that season that they, I think the Carson Wentz season, and how they blew a bunch of fourth quarter leads. They went for it on fourth down a ton. He's very aggressive on fourth down and going for it. And that year they were second though in converting it. So they went for it all the time, but never got it. And so those were some of the things that contributed to maybe some of those late game leads that they blew. And then the final nail in the coffin that got that really, I think, kind of made him a dead man walking was they were a play to get in team in the playoffs that Jonathan Taylor
against the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah. They went to the Jacksonville. Yeah, Jacksonville came to their house. I think a 2-12 Jacksonville team knocked them out from getting into the playoffs. That stuck in Jim Irsay's craw. He mentioned it over and over for the next 10 months or whatever.
If they made the playoffs there, Wentz would have not been traded. A lot of their reaction to Carson Wentz came because of that game. And Reich was already going to be walking on eggshells after that because you had a complete failure of a game plan. They had the best running back in the league last year in Jonathan Taylor, and they abandoned the run largely the entire game against the Jaguars that year or that game. So there are some criticisms, and like you said, the silver linings are there. And I don't think there's anybody that can go back and look at the history and say that there's not silver linings. There are some things that you can be positive about. There's a nostalgia to this. It does have a similar feel-good story that Wilks would have. But you also have a lot of the concerns. A lot of people, as we all are on Twitter and talking about this, maybe even debating a little bit. And if I start cutting out, let me know. I know I got dropped last time. But so let's look at his history, right? He was an Indianapolis Colt assistant coach, and then eventually a quarterback's coach with Peyton Manning. He and the entire offense got gutted after that 2-14 season, where they ended up getting Andrew Luck and letting go of Peyton Manning because he had the neck surgery. But it was a horrible offense. So he got fired from the Colts. Okay. He went to who did he go to? He had gone somewhere to be a wide receivers coach, maybe to the Arizona Cardinals. Got fired after 1 year. Okay. Then he went to San Diego. And at that time, I believe it was San Diego. It might have still been in Los Angeles. He got fired after 1 year of being their offensive coordinator. He had a couple of years of a wide receivers coach there. And then he got hired. Like, so the dude has been failing up. Like, he was a wide receivers coach, got fired, went over to become a wide receivers coach, got eventually hired into the offensive coordinator position. They got fired after one season, after one of the worst seasons in the NFL as far as one of the worst teams offensively on most every category in the NFL. And then he got hired to the Eagles. And then we all know who he got hired under was Doug Peterson. And what are we seeing right now happen at the Jaguars? Doug Peterson, being an offensive-minded head coach, how much of the success, that's not where the criticism comes into play, because there's a lot of this that we don't know. How much of the success from the Eagles is from Doug Peterson, or how much of that is Frank Reich? Okay, because right now those Eagles look a lot. I mean, the 2017 Eagles are starting to mimic a little bit. They're starting to mimic the 2017 Eagles now to the Jaguars. So it tells me that maybe this is more to do with the head coach than it was Frank Reich. Frank Reich goes to Indianapolis the year after that, after they win the Super Bowl in Philadelphia. Mind you, he got hired by Indianapolis after Indianapolis already hired Josh McDaniel, and Josh McDaniel turned them down, right?
That's right.
And so he was their second choice. So he comes there because he has a history of being, a part of their organization under Peyton Manning. He's inheriting Andrew Luck. I'm not going to take away the fact that he inherited Andrew Luck, but he also had, who was his offensive coordinator there for a couple of years before getting ripped away from him. A defensive coordinator got ripped away from him, and then they started to suck. They started to suck badly. They took away their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator, and they were not good.
You mean the Colts?
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni, right?
Mhm.
Went to
Yep.
the Eagles as a head coach a few
Yeah.
years. And I don't even know if how bad, like, I guess the question is, how bad were they? Is that I think there's something to be said, again, a different quarterback each season. We know how difficult it is to be good in those circumstances,
Really.
right? And then that's what was somebody, I also read this, is the idea is that Frank Reich, even in all of this quarterback carousel he had, people were poaching his coaching staff.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a good sign of some of the things that are going on in the organization, in the build.
Right.
And
But
I think the other thing is just Irsay is such a, like you said, it's kind of, there's so many factors that complicate this, CK, of like how we, like you mentioned with the Eagles, is Doug Peterson clearly is a good coach. He's, it's not like the Eagles were in good shape when he took over, right? They were a mess after after the dude who was from Oregon or whatever, Chip Kelly, I think it was. And Doug Peterson makes them into a Super Bowl team with Carson Wentz as a first-round pick.
And that's the question mark, right? We don't know. Carson Wentz was an MVP candidate that year, right? And then Nick Foles comes in after Carson Wentz tears his ACL, and he goes to the Super Bowl and wins the Super Bowl MVP. The problem I have is when you see anybody talking about that game, when you hear Nick Foles talking to any coaches, you see him talking to Doug Peterson, not Frank Reich. You see them talking about the Philly special to Doug Peterson, not to Frank Reich, right? So
I wonder
how much
if Reich
of that,
coached from the booth. I wonder if he was a booth offensive coordinator.
I don't know, but I'm just saying it looks to me that Frank Reichs have come on the backs of other people potentially being the reason they've been successful, right? They were successful with Nick Sirianni. They were successful with Doug Peterson. They were successful in those perfect situations, but when he got ripped away from those situations, they started to do very bad.
Well, but I would like to rebut that a little bit. One of the jobs of a coach is to put the best people in the right positions. And I think what Tony just said, if you look at how many coordinators Frank Reich has had poached away from him that have then gone on to have success, I think it's then fair to say that Frank Reich is good at identifying the best coaches to get the most out of their players. Now,
so my
a lot
question
of that
then becomes,
okay.
My question with that, because I think it's important if you're going to bring that up, are you prepared to have the same trajectory that the Colts just had?
Well, I mean, I don't see. This is the thing. We need to give him his chance, though, because it's easy to say, "Oh, well, they were looking at Doug Peterson. They were looking at Doug Peterson." But if you remember, they got the most out of Carson Wentz in that season that they went to the Super Bowl, and then the very next year, after Frank Reich leaves, Carson Wentz falls off a cliff with the Philadelphia Eagles, and CJA
it really never recovers until, I mean, if anything, his best success came when he went with Reich to Indy.
And CJA put this in the chat. If you pull up Wentz's numbers, It was his second best season since the Super Bowl year. Peterson got fired because he couldn't do anything with Wentz after Reich left. So I think if we're going to make those arguments, okay, you can also make the point for that argument as well. I'll continue to go back to this idea that I think people are kind of sleeping on, that when Frank Reich took that job to be the coach of the Indianapolis Colts, he did so thinking that he had one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL under center in Andrew Luck. Like, that was the plan for him going there. And then, to be honest with you, we're all saying, oh, man, he never fixed that quarterback position. I think given what he had to work with, he did a pretty damn good job. And you can make the case for all those quarterbacks that he brought in the Colts and understand why he made that decision. People say that Phillip Rivers, one of the better quarterbacks that's never won a Super Bowl, a longtime veteran. He's done some bad things. They brought in Phillip Rivers and they went to the playoffs that first year that they had him. Then the very next year, they brought in Carson Wentz. And like Tony said, he kind of stuck out his neck for Carson Wentz. But he also was able to be the coordinator of Carson Wentz when Carson had his most success in the NFL. So why wouldn't he believe that he would be able to get the best out of Carson Wentz another time? Then, and the very next year, Matt Ryan, once upon a time, was an NFL MVP. And keep in mind that every single quarterback that they brought in, they felt like they were a quarterback away from being a contender. Like, literally all of those years, loved their defense. They went and got the guy in the middle whose name escapes me right now. He used to play for the 49ers. Chat will help me. The big defensive tackle that plays for the Colts. But they loaded up. They got Jonathan Taylor. They had T.Y. Hilton. They had a bunch of players that they could make a legit Super Bowl push with. And when you have that quarterback carousel, DeForest Buckner, thank you, Carson. When you have this quarterback carousel where you're trying to put a quarterback on the team who's ready to win right now, would that make more sense as to why they never went and drafted a player or why they never took a shot on a young player to try and develop him? They hired him with the idea that we're going to win football games right now. And to be honest with you, I kind of feel like that's the same decision that David Tepper has made. Knowing that we almost made the playoffs this year, David Tepper feels like, okay, a few more pieces, and if we figure out the quarterback position, and I trust Frank Reich with the quarterback position, then there's no reason why this Panther team couldn't make that very same kind of jump next year.
I'll say this much. I mean, when you look at the reaction, there is a large divide in Panthers Nation about how we feel about this. And, I will say that Panthers fans have been more largely optimistic as a whole. But there are a lot of people who are still questionable on this. And that's where I'm at. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm similar to where Greg was last year when we hired Rule. I want Frank to be a good coach, and I want it to work out because I think that it's necessary for Panthers fans to feel that there's a plan and a future moving forward. But I also am concerned that we've gone with somebody who is going to be middle of the pack moving forward. I don't know that I ever recall him. I know they say top 10 in offense for the majority of his time in Indianapolis, but I don't know that I recall him being considered a great offensive-minded head coach who's changing the game when it comes to offense. My concern is that they had for multiple years made the decision to go with you can't use the Brissett year because that was an unexpected retirement of Luck that year, but you sure as hell can use the Carson Wentz year of retreading a quarterback that has fallen from grace in Philadelphia, and then doing the same with Matt Ryan, who had the same fall from grace, but just a little bit older. We haven't seen him develop a quarterback from being a rookie to being a star in the NFL and maintain that success. So that's my concern. And I think it's fair to say that that's a concern that we all can have as Panthers fans with regard to what Frank Reich brings to the table.
All right, so yeah, we're gonna don't worry, we're gonna get to your calls. The number's 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. Well, as we're on this, let's just we'll finish up with a couple of statistical things, and then we'll go to some calls. When we talk about the win-loss record, 10-6, 7-9. This is with Indy. 10-6. Was that with Luck that year?
The first year was Luck. Yep.
Yeah. So I think they started out 1-5.
But no, they didn't have Andrew Luck wasn't the quarterback when Frank Reich was there.
Yes, he got 1 year with Andrew Luck. He did.
Are you sure?
Here,
100%.
we're looking up. I'll look up Luck's. Let me see. I just read it that he went 1-5, started 1-5 his first year as a head coach, and then went 10-6. Luck's last season was 10-6, 2018, and that was Frank Reich's first season. So we got one season with Andrew Luck and got 10-6 out of it. We went 10-6, 7-9 his second
with
year
Jacoby Brissett.
Yep. 11-5 with Phillip Rivers.
Yep.
And it's kind of crazy. Think about this. He never won an AFC South, but he also went 11-5. So I'm guessing that the Tennessee Titans that year were juggernauts.
Yeah, the Tennessee Titans have been holding down that division.
But that was probably their peak year, though. 9-8 last year, and then he went 3-5-1 this year. And one of those losses, he was forced to sit Matt Ryan and start Sam Ehlinger, which the irony about this is they then fired Frank Reich 2 weeks later, and Jeff Saturday comes in and he starts Matt Ryan in game one, which was wild. But I think these are some interesting statistics. Go ahead, CK.
I was going to say that 3-5-1. It's hard to forget that one there at the end, though. And that tie column was their first week, and it was against arguably the worst team in the NFL.
Was it Houston?
Houston, yeah.
They went for it on a another fourth down conversion that they failed to get, which then Houston kicked it and tied it. I think maybe that's how it went. I'm not. But here I want to look at this real quick. This is interesting right here. Let's look at his offense, him from the offensive perspective and what he was doing. Look, when he was in Philly, they went from here. This is teams right. Let's see. Let's do points differential. As offensive coordinator, they were 9th in points differential his first year. So they were first in the league his second year. As he goes to Indy, they were 8. They were 17 the Brissett year, but then 8 again, 7 with Wentz, 32 this year. So this was a tough year. In yards differential, it says the lower the number, the more they outgained their opponents. High up here in yards from Philly to Indy. Again, the Brissett year was lean, it looks like. And then pretty good. This is number 7 in points differential in 2020. So look, as they are, and here's another thing, is that these teams, even with Phillip Rivers and Carson Wentz, were putting up points.
Yep.
I mean, they were in the top half of they score a lot of points, actually. He's been, did I make it half?
And by the way, when you said that there's a lot of points, that had to factor in to the decision to hire him. I mean, the problem with the Panthers offense for years now has been just how behind the curve our offense is compared to not only just teams in our division, but just teams in the NFL in general. Like, there's an offensive explosion happening in the NFL. It's been happening for a few years, and we knew that when the Panthers were interviewing all these offensive-minded head coaches, that was the direction that they're going in. If you talk to Indianapolis Colts fans, most of them are very complimentary of him. Like, they really don't have a whole lot of bad things to say about him, at least not in the way that I've seen them talk about it. There were a lot of fans who didn't think that it was the right move to even fire him. So, I mean, listen, this is going to be something that we're going to be digesting for a while. I just think that we could have done much worse than this. And by the way, some updates to this. No, right now the website doesn't list any other coach on the website other than Frank Reich. So no Steve Wilks, no Ben McAdoo. Maybe this is just a temporary thing. I don't.
I'm sure it's just I'm sure this means the staff is not there. I did want to brief look at this, Cody, real quick before we move on. These are Jim Caldwell's numbers. So I want you to just peek at this. These are Frank Reich's numbers, and look at this stretch right here in Indy, and look right in here at from points and yards, overall points, yards. This right here, offensive right here. In yards, he went 4, 18, 7, 18, 23. In points, he went 5, 16, 9, 9, 30. I'm looking at Caldwell's numbers here. In points and yards, his entire time, it was yards was 5th.
Bottom half.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that's a guy that we have respect for as an offensive mind, is you just don't see. It's almost like this is the numbers for Frank Reich didn't translate into as much success as you would almost expect. And then it's surprising, too, that he was able to generate so much of those success with guys. Let's be honest. Phillip Rivers was toast when he got there. He just dumped it to the running back. He stinks. I have a thing against Phillip Rivers, but let's be honest.
You go look at his numbers.
Yeah, his numbers, but I don't think he was I think he was doing a lot of short stuff. You know what I'm saying? I think that he had a Jacoby Brissett that never passed the ball, right? I mean, it's almost he's at least put up respectable offenses despite not having great players. And you could also start to wonder how much of the mess was in Indianapolis was in spite of Jim Irsay and who's the damn nobody likes him right now, the GM that still has his job in India. I always forget his name. Anyway, so I think this is, like you say, is Frank Reich Ballard. Is it? What's his first? Chris Ballard. The former chancellor of ECU was Scott Ballard. So you don't confuse him with that. Chris Ballard. And, they haven't addressed the quarterback situation. And I wonder what this means is that, does Frank come in here and say, look, I was able to have success without the quarterback, without the direction there, without the, kind of the jumping all over the place at the quarterback position. I can do that game if you want, but imagine if you let me get a veteran like Derek Carr this year and draft a quarterback and give me the next Andrew Luck for, rookie quarterback that's going to be good going forward. I think there is something there to say he worked with Carson Wentz. He worked with Andrew Luck, maybe at the back end of Luck's career, obviously. He's worked with and helped quarterbacks at least get a lot out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, I also want to say, I think this increases the likelihood that the Panthers probably do look to a quarterback in the draft. I mean, everybody kind of thought that anyway, but I just feel like thinking about what he has been through in Indianapolis, going through the turnaround of, okay, maybe this guy would do it. Maybe that guy would do it. I really think that he's going to try and look for the young quarterback of the future to try and build around. I really, like I said, people in the chat room are still kind of talking about Matt Corral. I'd love to see if Frank Reich would be willing to work with Matt Corral. But, if we do end up trying to draft a quarterback, I think there's more of a possibility that we could trade up for one if we do have a prospect that we're in love with. And my final point is to all of the Scott Fitterer fans who want Scott Fitterer to finally be the GM, not having to worry about pleasing all different kinds of masters and Matt Rule and all that. To me, this is the perfect scenario for Scott Fitterer to show what he's capable of doing as a GM. You have a guy who has the tenure. He's done this before. He's in control of everything on the football field that the Carolina Panthers will be in charge of. And now you have
2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
have Fitterer finally in charge of the roster, the draft, free agency. To me, this now seems like the Panthers are in the perfect position to finally have that separation of church and state, the office and the football field.
I think that's a good point, too. And you know what? Is now we'll get to most fairly and accurately assess Scott Fitterer as a GM because you don't have or at least it seems from the outside looking in that Frank Reich is comfortable being, not being the guy that needs all the front office power, but also, but the guy that can work with those front office people, unlike maybe what the Sean Payton model would have put out there, or what we think Matt Rule was like. We think Matt Rule was a lot heavier-handed than he is letting on in his revision of what look back of his time in Carolina. The question continues to be, well, actually, I'll say this, and then let's get into the cat calls, is like you said, if that's a good thing there. Another thing is that if we are going to take a quarterback, let's just be honest, having a quarterback and an offensive-minded coach, like a former quarterback, can't be I won't say it can't be. You wouldn't think it would be a handicap.
No.
I know people are going to say this, John Elway. They're going to say John Elway hasn't been able to get a quarterback right at all. But, John Elway also just wasn't good at a GM. Yeah, as a GM. Period.
Yeah.
And the other is that Frank Reich, you have to, especially if you kind of know what you think can really win in this league, is that it's got to be better than a former DB or some other just being the guy, the head coach at the time,
especially a long snapper or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you think they made this hire with the thought of, if year one isn't great, or at least a major improvement to last year, that we're going to fire Reich and go balls deep for Sean Payton? Do you believe that that's going to be the mindset that the Panthers have, and that's why they decided to go with the guy like Frank Reich? Because if he's got a history of failing in Indianapolis and he comes here and he has a really tough first year, you almost see a scenario where they're making this hire with that even in the back of their mind.
It's an interesting point. I will say you're right about what, if you're wrong, we hope you're wrong, right? CK, sure. We hope that doesn't have that potential, but it's a lot easier to fire Frank Reich after 1 year than it is to fire Steve Wilks.
Kellen Moore after, Steve Wilks.
Or even Steve Wilks. I mean, think about that. Is imagine the upheaval and the the whole point of the lawsuit. So I think if there is an impetus to think like that, CK, Frank Reich is a easier candidate to walk into with that kind of mindset and that tone. Interesting point. The number's 252-228-5098. Cody, bring us into the cat calls if you got a chance. And we want to hear your thoughts. Was it the right move?
Let's get into
279 watching. Smash the thumbs. 86. We're climbing.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in the snow? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hey guys, it's JJ. I just heard the ice ups from the previous episode, and DK.
Oh, this was 423. Hey, we're coming back. We're coming back to you. We got to get the first call being about Frank Reich. 2:26 p.m. This has got to be it.
What's up, C3 fam? Damien out here in Utah. Yo, kind of bummed we didn't get Wilks just for the fact that a lot of our players were really outspoken at the end of the season about having Wilks. I feel like there'd be some loss of the locker room. I really, really doubt it, but I'd love to see Wilks come back as our defensive coordinator. But what a slap in the face. I mean, I get the offensive side needed some work, and Frank will hopefully help that. But I mean, the future is weird right now. I'm just really glad we didn't get that scumbag Sean Payton and trade our future away. So, I mean, if that's a positive, at least we keep our first round picks. All right, guys, let's hear what you guys say. Shout out to my boy Zach out in Carolina. Love you guys.
Man, thanks a lot, dude. All the way from Utah, Damon. We appreciate it. And let's momentarily talk about that. Steve Wilks, did he get the shaft? Is this kind of, what do you guys think about it? The not Steve Wilks story.
Go ahead, CK. I'll let you go first.
I think that it's as controversial as this statement is. There's a lot of people that have jumped to the bandwagon of, and it's easy for me to say this, right, from my pedestal and the opportunities that has been granted to me, but it just feels a little bit assumptive to assume that this is a hire simply because he matches the skin color of David Tepper. That seems like a dangerous precedent to set based on very little evidence of saying that, being that Steve Wilks got an opportunity to be the interim head coach over top of many other white people, right? So I can't in good faith really put that into the equation. It strengthens his case, I think, against the NFL as a whole. And I think he's going to do great things in this league. I think that Tepper knew what he wanted, and that was an offensive-minded head coach. The real failure, I think, for people from minorities is really that they aren't given as many offensive opportunities in this league. When you look at the offensive coaches compared to defensive coaches, the ratio of offensive coaches being white or black or minority is so much different than the defensive side of the ball. So I believe that it's more of a problem, I think, of getting the opportunities to these guys in the offensive side of the ball more so than anything else. Now, I'm not saying that. Here's my argument. Here's my thing. You can believe what you want, but if your thought about this hire is that Steve Wilks never had a shot because he was black, that's a dangerous thing to say, because there's so many things around that is easy to contradict that. David Tepper had shown no indication whatsoever that he has a hesitation to hire Steve Wilks. It just, Frank Reich probably fit his mold a little bit more about what he wanted out of a coach moving forward. So at the end of the day, I respect his decision. I wanted Steve Wilks to be the head coach, but I'm not prepared to go out there and say that it's on Steve, or that it's a race-related hire.
So I want to read this, and then I
hope it's the same headline I just saw.
I want to read this and then I'm going to speak a little bit about this, right? This is from Wingdoor Law. They're the law firm that's representing Flores and Steve Wilks in their lawsuit against the NFL. He put, "We are shocked and disturbed that after the incredible job Coach Wilks did as the interim coach, including bringing the team back into playoff contention and garnering the support of the players and fans, that he was passed over for the head coach position by David Tepper. There is a legitimate race problem in the NFL, and we can assure you that we will have more say in the coming days." Now, we're a panel of 3 white dudes, right? So obviously, we can't have maybe as necessarily as well-rounded of a conversation that people might like. None of us have lived as a black person, or let alone a black NFL coach. So with that said, when it comes to Steve Wilks, I almost thought of this like, man, if they hired Steve Wilks, but they ended up like Frank better, all reports had one of the best interviews ever. Like after they interviewed Frank Reich, they fell in love with him and his vision for the team. I think we would have been happy with Steve Wilks. I mean, we've said for a long time that we would have been very happy with Steve Wilks. But are they supposed to pick Steve Wilks just because of this lawsuit and not pick
No, they're gonna pick him because of what he did as an interim coach. They're gonna pick him just because, even if they like this other.
My point was that they could have felt they had the now because of the lawsuit that Wilks was a part of, they almost felt the pressure to have to hire him after the job that he did as the interim coach. And because of this lawsuit that he's attached to, that potentially it makes the organization look bad or racist, if that's what somebody wants to say. To me, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
I think this is that the argument that, well, first they didn't feel pressured to do that because they didn't do it, right? So that's the one thing. That pressure, if it existed in their mind, wasn't enough. They weren't afraid of a Wigdoor Law, which is suing the NFL, by the way. It's not. He's not suing. Wilks is not a part of a lawsuit against the Carolina Panthers. I think this is what this attorney should say right now, is that is this attorney has a job to do, and this is good fodder, right? This is good, is that if he didn't say this, he wouldn't be representing his clients right, and there is a good degree of truth to this, is that what Wilks did as an interim coach proved just as much that he was as capable and competent as every one of these guys that you would argue in the coaching pool. Now, I think there is a way that you could just say vision and the way you think the future could unfold with an offensive coach. I think that is a large linchpin of this. And that really, I've been saying this on the C3 Panthers podcast of the entire interim time of Steve Wilks. His interview was during the season. And it was not the interview. In the interview, they had already decided on Steve Wilks by the end of the season. And what Steve Wilks, we can argue, unfortunately, the world isn't fair, right? So we can't argue fairness and things like this. What Steve Wilks was having to do, what he had to do to get this job, is he had to do such a good job and turn it around so much that they couldn't hire someone else. Sure. And he was really close to doing that. But what happens when you lost? Not you. He didn't lose when the Carolina Panthers lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then 2 weeks later, in a moment where you can win and keep your, kind of really, beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road, and you come out up 14-0, that you couldn't close those 2 games out, or the Panthers didn't. Had he won both of those games, the Panthers would have made the playoffs probably 99%. If he won both of them, they would have been playoff bound. you could have said you couldn't have hired someone else. I mean, you couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I argued if you win one of those games, you probably couldn't hire someone else. But it left the door open enough to say this. We really think Steve Wilks is a good coach, but we're really after an organizational history of being defensive minded, as being completely inept on offense for the entire tenure of David Tepper's ownership, that he just wants a more offensively driven team. That door was left open. And so really Steve Wilks couldn't have said nothing at this point. I don't think that would have changed it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, people are saying in the chat, and it's a good point, most interim head coaches don't end up being the future head coach. They just don't, and again, you might say that it's unfair. And like Tony said, the world is not fair. We can't change the fact that we live in an unfair world. However, that game against Tampa Bay, it did seal his fate. You might say, he didn't have J.C. Horn. He didn't have Dante Jackson. And all of those are legitimate reasons. However, it means that the Carolina Panthers might also have been looking to go in a different direction, building this football team than they ever have before. And one of the things that we're glossing over is one of the first things that CK said when we started the show. We have never had an offensive-minded head coach and quarter combo. We've never done that. And in this new age of Carolina Panthers football, when NFL teams are throwing the ball all over the yard, it's reasonable for them to assume that Steve Wilks wasn't going to be the guy to bring the Panthers offense into the current day. And I think that's a reasonable criticism of Steve Wilks.
Yeah. First, I'd like to thank all the supporters in the chat. 318 people watching. You can help us continue to grow the C3 Panthers podcast by smashing the thumbs up button, subscribe. Considering to be a C3 super fan, it's a small way you can monetarily support the show with sometimes it's a little bit, everybody giving a little. It really helps out a lot. And we have right now, I think we have 124 C3 super fans. 20 of those have been gifted, so that's awesome in that case. But you, for $1.99, can subscribe and show your loyalty, get those loyalty badges. We're gonna have to get a Frank Reich one now. Was it the right decision? Another way you can support the C3 Panthers podcast is by calling in at 252-228-5098, and then you can be one of those most generous donors, patron saints of this podcast. I believe we just got a super chat just a couple of moments ago. Alvin Busano. All right, let's go through them. Let's read them. We haven't even hit the super chats.
Let's go through all of them, man.
Patrons, these patron saints here. God bless you.
We love it. Lions fans, one Paulie LFP with the 199 says, I'll rate this a 7 out of 10. Okay, that's a favorable number. Eric 37 says, I like the potential for this hire. Our boy, your bastard son, White Chocolate Espresso, says we get a pick if Wilks gets a job. Fuck Peyton. All right. And then Alvin Brunson with the 499. Alvin Busano, pardon me, with the 499 says, let's be honest, Wilks looked amazing because of who he took over for. Rule had the bar set real low.
And we'll talk about that. Let's go to the next call. The number's 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. And then we're going to open up the show to people to come on via StreamYard and video. And I know some people are aching to do that. Let's pile through a couple of calls.
It's your boy Salty Cracker, and first time calling in. Just want to say y'all guys do a great job on the show.
Appreciate you.
Talk about the strength issue. Let's see. I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about it. I'd rather see Steve Wilks retain it for one more year, but now we got him for 3. So, only way to make this right is we got to go all in. Because the reason why it didn't work for the Colts is he didn't have a quarterback. And that's the same shit we don't have. It's a fucking quarterback. So we got to push for that number 1 overall draft pick now. Otherwise, if we don't get this right, we're fucked boys for the next 5-10 years. I'll make it easy.
Man, thank you,
Salty
Salty
Cracker.
Cracker.
Appreciate you, man.
Somebody brought this up in the chat. We got to go get Frank Reich throwback jerseys. And, I had been pulled this up a few minutes ago. I was like, man, I got to get on this before they get expensive. But they are already, first of all, there's right now only 2 from the Carolina Panthers on eBay. Right now, look at this, 18 bids on the one that is in good shape. This one, you can buy this one for $50, but look at the numbering on the back. It's been used. It's been used. The number's 252-228-5098.
Hey, before you play that next call, shout out to our buddy NC with the $20 love bomb. He says it's time to celebrate Frank, and hopefully a great draft is coming. Ken Folk, appreciate you, brother, and we could not agree more.
Thank you so much for your support. Next call.
Hey, Tony.
Oh,
it's Rico.
Rev.
We gotta talk. This is getting a little. It's not the right hire. Probably not a bad hire. But once again, Tepper goes and does dumb shit, and he's gonna get away with it again. That's until we get boat raced by Will Greer's doppelganger or some shit. I don't know. It is what it is.
Rev Rico, man, Dave, man, good to hear from you. I've missed you. I've thought about you a couple of times. I go, where is that guy? Hey, and hit me up on Twitter, wherever on social media, so we can reconnect, because we always had some great conversations. Let's go.
Play the next one. P-Dubs with another $20 love bomb. Appreciate you, P. He said, I'm so bummed on Wilks, but let's get on board and move to solve the quarterback mess and modernize our offense. I agree with you, P-Dubs, and I think this is the whole entire mindset of the Panthers and why they did this, to update our offense. Appreciate you, brother.
Man, thank you guys for your generosity in supporting the C3 Panthers podcast. We're live here on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. You can check us out on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, and wherever you get your podcast, man. What love, dude. That's crazy you guys
appreciate
donating like that. Next call.
Hey, what's up, fellas? It's Corey calling in.
Corey?
News just broke about an hour ago, so I wanted to give my take on the hire. Before I talk about Frank Reich, I want to talk about Steve Wilks because, Panthers Nation is definitely divided when it comes to this, especially and being a black man myself, I can say it's especially divided when you're talking about the black community. I'll say this first and foremost, right? During the season, I was rooting for Wilks. I wanted Wilks to take us to the promised land, to be the Charlotte guy and turn us around and take us to the playoffs and, get the extension. But the fact of the matter is he was always did have a glass ceiling against him. One, of course, not only being an interim coach of a bad team, but two, being a black interim coach. Like, you have to go above and beyond. You have to exceed, especially when you're an interim, to even get the opportunity, right? It's very rare that an interim coach gets hired full time. But I'm seeing this narrative that he got screwed, or it's the Panthers being the Panthers again, hiring a fired coach and get rid of the guy who turned us around and this and this and that. And it's like, look, man, Tony's been making this point too, and I've been making it, and I've been agreeing with him and all this stuff too. It's like, if Wilks wanted to silence all the doubters, if he wanted to make sure there's no way that these motherfuckers can't not hire me, he would have, taking care of business against Tampa Bay. And I'm not going to bring up all the points with that game because we all know how that game went.
Yeah,
but
point.
Sad to say, I think the saddest part is that I don't think he is going to get another opportunity to be a head coach anywhere else. Like, this was his shot, but he didn't get screwed. We hired a good coach. You know what I mean? Like, Frank Reich, he may have this little stank on him because he was the most recent coach of the Colts and he just got fired and all that. Like, I don't care about that shit, bro. he won a Super Bowl as an OC. You know what I mean? He went to the playoff 2 times, almost 3 times, but Carson Wentz didn't go full fucking Carson Wentz in the last game of the season. But they had this. They went and they sent him out there with the ghost of Andrew Luck on his last leg, and Jacoby Brissett and Carson Wentz and a 38-year-old Matt Ryan and a 38-year-old Phillip Rivers. Like, he hasn't had a quarterback that can throw 20 yards downfield his entire time coaching, and he's taken, been relatively successful and extremely successful as offensive coordinator. It's a good hire. You know what I'm saying? It sucks that Wilks, didn't get the job, but he didn't get screwed out of it, man. Like, it's a cutthroat business. It's a results-driven business, and I hope he gets another opportunity somewhere else, man. And I wish him the best. But the Panthers made a good fucking move, and if you can't see that, you're just being emotional.
Well, I'll tell you, if there's one place that we need someone who can have success with someone who can't throw 20 yards down the field, it's been Carolina for the last 5 years. I mean, man, let's just get Teddy Bridgewater and win the whole damn Super Bowl.
So I do have something down one. I do feel bad for Steve Wilks. Like, I really do. Because I mean, the real. Like Corey said, this was his chance. This was his opportunity to be a head coach in the NFL. The man's getting older. I don't know if he's ever going to get another opportunity to be a head
I think
coach.
that's why he took the interim position and took it with such seriousness. It was probably his last opportunity.
Yeah, it was his last opportunity. And I do feel bad. Yeah, I do feel bad for him because, like people have said, he definitely won over the locker room. I mean, every single Carolina Panther, they were on board with Steve Wilks being the next head coach. This was the guy that they wanted. And a lot of fans also wanted Steve Wilks to be the next head coach. And, I do feel bad for him. I wish that they were different. I mean, I do agree with Corey overall in that I think that this was the best move for the organization. But, I mean, just the fact that, he's not going to be able to prove himself worthy as a head coach in the NFL, it is sad because I do think that he could do a damn good job. And for all intents and purposes, he did do a damn good job this year. So it's like both of these things can be true at the same time. This is from Trey Boston. He put it out. Come on, man. So, a lot of Panther fans are kind of making similar statements like this. They feel bad for Wilks, and I do too, man. Like I said, I would have been ecstatic if we hired Steve Wilks. I think it would have been great. But like I said, I don't mind this move because it signifies a change in the Panthers' identity. We are now going to try to be a dynamic, up-tempo offense, and Frank Reich has the numbers to back that up. So I'm happy with it.
I don't know, and we'll ask the chat, we'll ask the callers, and I can't say with confidence, or I can't say with an opinion right now this was the best move. But I can, with confidence, say that it was not the worst move. It was not the riskiest move. And it is a move that also could yield good results, right? So, I mean, you can say all types of things. You can say what the best move is the greatest possible outcome. We don't know the future here. So I can't guarantee that. But I do, again, I told you I've been very cautious or about getting too excited about these names like Ben Johnson or Shane Steichen, I think is how you're supposed to, or how somebody was telling me this.
I would say Stitchen, but whatever.
Yeah, but they said Steichen is how it's pronounced. Yeah, who cares how? But any of these names that the point being is that there is a comfort level to see that a guy that's had success, not just been a coach, but had some modicum of success. Whether that success isn't good enough for you, I can't tell you how to feel about it. But he has had 2 seasons where they've had 10 plus wins. And that is an accomplishment, I would think, in the NFL, particularly since the last time the Panthers were able to do that was 2015, right?
Yeah.
So the other thing is
2017.
You're right, where we were 11-5 that year. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't say though either with confidence that Steve Wilks wasn't the right move. I can't, you know what I mean? Like, is that he very well could have been. But Frank Reich does offer, I think if it was a candidate other than Frank Reich, I think that imagine that people, the thing that people were not upset with, maybe the individuals who believed that this should be Steve Wilks, say Trey Boston, for instance. I think their feelings would be even stronger if you would have announced a name like Ben Johnson, if you would have announced a name like Shane Steichen, if you would have announced Kellen Moore. You know? I mean, I think
I'm way happier with Frank Reich, the coach, than if I'm getting up today and having to make a show about Kellen Moore.
No, but yeah, I agree with that. What I'm saying is the argument for Wilks is probably Reich gives the best counter argument out of all those guys. The other guys, you should say Wilks should be head and shoulders above them.
Yeah. And can I also say, and I don't know if you guys agree with this or not, to me, this increases the likelihood of a trade for like a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance. And I just, he's done it before with Matt Ryan, gave up some picks. He did it for Carson Wentz, gave up some picks. And hey, shout out to the Sports Nut. He just tagged me post. This is from Michael K on Twitter. He is saying that Panthers head coach Frank Reich, his plans to fill his staff might lead him to having a more CEO-like role in Carolina than he had in Indy, per source. Reich has options at offensive coordinator, and it's a matter of how he ultimately builds staff. Unemployed, so he got a leg up on calls due to NFL rules. And that's a good point. He wasn't hired. He wasn't employed by the NFL. So he might say, he might have been in contact with coaches this entire time about, hey, if I get this Carolina job, come to Carolina with us. And he's not breaking any rules.
That is an advantage, right? Like, he can be doing what Mike McCarthy did, like his little notebooks that he was building and all these little coaching sessions he was having with other guys, like professional developments. Let's go to the next call. Let's see what you guys got to say about this Frank Reich hire.
Hey, what's up, fellas? It's Corey calling in.
Next call.
What's up, guys? When the Panthers hired the next coach, it's not this sexy, exciting hire, but it's a safe, solid hire. I feel. It feels like it's a 4 or 5 year gap filler. It seems, right, how it feels. And for the people that was wanting to compare Frank Reich to Steve Wilks and make it about race, let's take race and names out of it and look at resumes. One coach as offensive coordinator won a Super Bowl with Carson Wentz, a wet noodle,
and Nick Foles
going to be out of the league in a year or two. And then he went 40-33 as a head coach
in a shit division.
Okay, well, let's look at the other resume. You got a coach that won as a head coach, won 3 games at one organization, and drafted a wet noodle that got him fired, probably. And then and as a Panthers interim, he won one more game. Just one more game than the third of a head coach they just fired. Winning one more game and being better than Matt Rule is not a high bar. I mean, I appreciate Wilks for what he did when he was here, but come on, he couldn't get the job done in the big games that mattered, right? These players, quote, that had his back and they wanted him so bad and they want to play for him. They didn't show up against the Steelers. They didn't show up or just gave up against the Buccaneers. And these players that said, that's our guy, are either retired or won't be on the roster in 2 or 3 years. Let's talk to Shaq. Hey, Shaq, if Steve Wilks is your guy, let's say in a year or 2 or 3, if Wilks was hired as the head coach full time and he didn't work out, are you going to give up your salary to because you backed him? No,
we don't need to do all that though.
Players, let's say the active players that was pulling for Wilks, what do you think going to happen when their contracts ran out? No, chasing that bag, right? You think they're going to take a discount on their contracts to save cap space?
Well, you don't. First, I would like to point out that the coach's salary doesn't contribute to the cap space. So regardless, it's just this is one, it would be weird if they didn't root for their guy, right? That they had a relationship and have some success with. I don't have any problem with the guys really being in favor of Steve Wilks as a head coach. And on top of that, I think that Steve Wilks' performance as a head coach has been I don't want to say impressive as in, I think there's a degree of impressiveness to it. Is like, I was kind of wondering, is Frank Reich and Steve Wilks, one's defensive, one's offensive, really, they're kind of, is there a giant difference in either category? I wonder if their floors are about the same, and their ceilings, maybe the ceiling is potentially higher with Reich.
Yeah. And some updates here. And shout out to CJA. This is Sports Nut on Twitter. Check him out. He says, per Kunkel, 10 to 15 captains and senior leaders on the team backed the decision and understood it, even though they were, really wanting Steve Wilks. Say that Reich is well respected. And this is something that Will Kunkel is reporting. He says Frank Reich separated himself late in the interview process. Reich conducted interviews with potential coaching staff members. He did not present the Panthers brass with the wish list, but with the group of names he had thoroughly interviewed prior to his interview if he got the job. So it just seems like there's a level of preparedness and there's a level of having a cemented plan in place that Frank Reich was able to present in his interviews that no one else was. So
I mean, like, as Wilks probably couldn't have been doing that, but not during the season at least. And on top of that, and he also, he's had less time.
None of the other candidates.
And I mean, even if Wilks put together a plan that was comparable, here's the one thing is that really, whoever says those things, it's going to really resonate with David Tepper after seeing the problem that existed before with his decision. As Matt Rule's entire staff, how many podcast hours did we spend on the fact that the staff had zero NFL coaching experience? And in some ways, I almost could not. I didn't even blame Coach Rule all the time for it. When you're a college coach, you have college relationships. But when you've been an assistant and this and that in the NFL, you've run in the NFL circles. So your relationships, you got. So Matt Rule didn't have guys to call. Like, he had to call new people he didn't know well. Like, he never knew Ben McAdoo probably or something like that. But, the Reich circle, him and Wilks offer this, and Reich especially, I think it probably just makes him feel good after getting hoodwinked by a guy that didn't have those relationships. An interesting thing too, people have brought up is some people is one man's trash, another man's treasure. Or why are we hiring a coach that just got fired type thing? Well, one, I think it's hard to hire coaches who just had success, right? That's usually a difficult thing. Is that what coach out there has had a ton of success in the NFL that you're I mean, Bill Belichick ain't going nowhere, or Andy Reid staying right where he is, but Frank Reich in some ways was kind of, was he fodder for the Colts? We don't know, but I will say this: is Doug Peterson was fired, and guess what? He has done a pretty good job in just a year of revitalizing a inept Jacksonville Jags team. And he was fired from Philadelphia. And you know what? It is kind of, maybe I'm just trying to tease that connection, but that's where they work together. So maybe it's hopefully in the air, in the DNA of Frank Reich to come back on a second tenure and really make some noise. Let's go to the next call.
What's up, C3? How's it going? It's Tyler here. Listening to the podcast right now during lunch, walking around. So sorry if it's a little windy. It's in California, getting a lot of wind here. So I just want to give you my opinion on the hiring. I would have been fine with Steve Wilks being the head coach. I'm fine with Frank Reich being the head coach, but they're not my top picks. Like, I think their floor isn't as low as like Shane Steichen or a Ben Johnson, and possibly if we hired him. But I just don't see the ceiling, right? Like you guys are mentioning, he's worked at Carson Wentz, a lot of veteran quarterbacks, but he hasn't really developed or picked a rookie quarterback. We haven't seen that, so that's new. So in my opinion, I just don't see the Panthers going veteran quarterback again. I really don't. I think they're going to be ending up doing a rookie quarterback or Matt Corral, but I really think they're going to go through the draft this year and get one. I just don't know how, I don't know how I feel about the hire. I mean, I want him to do good. He's the coach, but at the same time, I think he has some stuff to prove to fans. To me, Frank Reich is like the offensive guy, the Steve Wilks, but on offense, where again the ceiling isn't that high, but the floor isn't that low. So we'll see. But again, really hoping for the guy does well. But I'm just curious to see what direction we go. Does Scott stay? I'm feeling Scott does stay. So that's just my opinion on that. But the main thing to me is like they have to have some type of short-term and long-term plan. I just feel like that it got to be done trying to chase this veteran quarterback thing. We got to continue to build this team. We still got to build. We still have a lot of pieces to get. Defensive end, tight end, quarterback, obviously, corner, linebacker. We still have pieces, but I do like we did hire our first offensive coach, and that he came from the Panthers, so that's really cool, nostalgia. So we'll see. But that's my opinion on the guys. Thanks for coming on, put it on the show during lunch. During my lunch, I appreciate it. Good entertainment while I'm doing my walk. So you guys have a good day. Keep it on.
Thank you, man. Thanks for your call. Yeah, there's a safety to this, a caution to it in some ways, or at least, is that it's not a risky. I think, again, those coordinators are risky picks. I want to put this out there. Steve Berline, former Carolina Panther quarterback, and still doing some commentary around. You hear him on the radio station. You hear him working with the Panthers occasionally. He says this: Frank Reich as new Carolina Panthers coach, I love it. Great man and great coach, will yield great results. So I'm going to do this. I'm about to drop a link to my response to him, which is begging him to come on the Panthers podcast sometime. I'm going to drop it in the comments, folks, in just like 30 seconds. But what I want us to do is bully him with positive vibes. We're going to positive bully Steve Berline right now, hopefully. Hopefully the C3 super fans will take this tweet and maybe we can get a guest out of it. So I'm going to post this right now. That's my response. Go like his tweet that I'm responding to. Say something. Let's get C3. Man, I think the fans can bully. Let's be bullies.
Yeah, but some loving bullies.
Yeah,
right?
positive bullies.
Yeah, some
Positive bullies. It's like,
loving bullies.
Take this present. What if you went up to somebody and you bullied them into letting you buy their gas? Let me buy your gas, please.
Hey, we really love your insight, and we need you to come on our show. What are you
Come
doing?
on.
Hurry
Look
up.
at this kid over here crying. Just show him some crying kid gifs, some of the tears welling. Let's do it. Whatever. It might not even be bullying. Guilt him. Let's fan guilt him. Fan guilt him.
That'd be really cool. Let's hope that we can get that to happen.
All right, let's go to my bastard son real quick, and then we're gonna open it up. We're gonna open it up to you guys to jump on the C3 Panthers podcast.
Yo, it's White Chocolate Espresso. All right, it's Frank Reich. Cool. Yeah, I really can't complain because I was so worried about Sean Payton that I'd rather have fucking Frank Reich than Sean Payton. So I can't really complain, even though he was probably my last choice besides Payton. I would love to fucking have Steve Wilks on his team as a head coach, but it was obvious Tepper wanted an offensive guy because apparently Kellen Moore was runner-up. So not even Wilks was the runner-up. Yeah, it was brought to my attention, too, that if Wilks signs for the same position he signed for in Carolina this year or higher, Carolina gets a pick. So that's something to look at. I think he's going to go to Atlanta and try to fuck this team over. I mean, that's what I would do. Oh, you're not going to hire me? Oh, cool. I'm going to go to your competitor. Good for him. I gave Will a chance. I'm going to give this dude a chance. I don't know. But, hey, we got a coach. I want to know what y'all thoughts on the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Starting to look like he might actually trade up for a quarterback. So let the offseason begin.
Someone I saw, I wonder if this is, someone say Gus Bradley, that he had worked with Gus Bradley in the past, that they liked him as a potential quarterbacks coach or something like that. I'm going to see some, we're going to look up some Frank Reich stuff. You guys, it's working. The fan bullying of Steve Berline is happening right now. We're up to 7 or 8 likes of this tweet in just a moment. You guys help us help you get the people you want to hear from on the C3 Panthers podcast. We got anybody? You guys, let's go ahead and drop the link to jump in the show. I'm going to play one more call as you do that. And we'll get in some fans on the C3 Panthers podcast here, covering live the Steve.
Hey guys, this is Panther Pickle. I just wanted to shout out my 2 cents on this coaching hire. I'm all right with it. I wanted the Eagles OC or Wilks originally, but I do remember back in December making a statement that Tepper may just want to go get a veteran offensive coordinator, a veteran coach. We know when he bought the team, when he spent $2 billion on the team, that he wanted an offensive-minded coach. That's what he said originally. It shouldn't be a shock that he picks the offensive-minded. Now, yes, the rule hire, was his first rookie owner screw-up. That happens. We all know that. Okay. But, I don't think Tepper made any decision based on race. I know some owners do. I know the Texas owner will not hire a black man to be his head coach. That's just never going to happen. He does not. The Texas owner is a racist. He's never denied that, I don't think. But anyway, Tepper.
I mean, he did just hire Lovie Smith.
What he always wanted to do was hiring an offensive-minded coach. Fans wanted a rookie, but Tepper wants to win now. He don't want to wait for a rookie coach to develop his own way. Remember, it took the Eagles a couple of years to develop to get where they're at now. Tepper's just going to do what he wants to do with his money, his team. I I love Wilks to death, and I wish him all the success in the world. But there was a lot of fans out there who said he was too conservative. They said he was conservative on offense, and he was too conservative on defense. And if he becomes the defensive coordinator, if him and Al Holcomb go to the Falcons, which they're saying they may, and they become the defensive coordinator and the linebackers coach for the Falcons, with the speed that the Falcons linebackers have, we just want to accept our fate. That's how it's going to be. So let's all pull together and see what we got.
Thank you.
Keep pounding.
Panther Pickle. We're going to talk to you in real life in just a second. Thank you, chat, because Gus Bradley, defensive coordinator that he has worked with in the past, and Frank Reich this is according to Joel Erickson, not according, but it's common knowledge. Frank Reich has a little bit of a coaching tree going. Sirianni to Philly, Eberflus to Chicago, or some names. And I guess Eberflus has not had the best. I wonder, was he a defensive coach, Eberflus, or was he?
Yeah, I think it was a defensive coach.
Which was strange. But anyway, go ahead and introduce people because we need to know we need to get the right decision.
Some Panther, we just heard from him, but we love us some Panther Pickle. Panther Pickle's in the chat from the Friday Free for All. Pickle, what's up, buddy?
What's up, man? How are you?
We got a new head coach.
I love it. I really do. You can look at everybody that they brought in, and you can all pick your pick, but in the end, only one gets it. So,
I thought you had a great call, Pickle. I think at the end of the day, it just came down to the offensive-minded direction that we're going to, and then next up, White Chocolate Espresso, who also had a good point that apparently number 2 was Kellen Moore. It wasn't even Steve Wilks. What's up?
Wow.
What's up?
What up? What up? Hey, you're not on any nasal solution, are you?
Just a little.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't even notice that was his profile.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. Then we got Zesty D in the building. Zesty, what's up, bro?
What's up, guys? How you guys been doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. So we'll just kind of go across the board. You've heard me and Tony and CK speak for a little bit, so we're gonna pass the mic to y'all. We've heard a little bit from Pickle and White Chocolate. So Zesty, we'll go to you first, man. How you feeling about Frank Reich being the new head coach of the Carolina Panthers?
I'm that crazy Utah fan, what's it called? Wilks, I mean, there's nothing we can do at this point. So, we can only be happy, We can only look forward, look positive. Sucks for Wilks. Like I said earlier, hopefully he becomes a DC, but I don't. It's unfortunately probably not going to happen. My real question is, though, do you think he's going to try to keep Corral? Or, Sam Darnold played good at the end of the season, or do you think those two are out of the question and we're going to be drafting someone?
Dude, I would love it, man. I love Matt Corral. I think Matt Corral has first round. The Panthers organization did as well. He just has to prove that he can stay healthy and that he can do this for a long time to come. Dude, people are even making Matt Corral artwork. Yeah. Are you kidding me? Let's go, dude. I fucking love it. And that's one of the things I'm excited about, having an offensive-minded head coach. Mm-hmm. The ability to pair them with a quarterback talent. Like, dude, I'm loving that. I think it's a great opportunity for us to get some new life for the Panthers offense. Hey, real quick, let me welcome Mike Anthony to the show. Anthony, what's going on, buddy?
What's up? Just talking about the news. Kind of optimistic with this one. Really wish that Steve Wilks got the job, but Tepper wanted an offensive guy, so I'm gonna support it for sure.
Yeah. We also got Eric in the building. Eric, what's up?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Doing good. How are you, man?
Was it the right decision?
Personally, I'm just going to let it play out, but I really like I said earlier, I really like the potential of this hire, and I'm excited to move on now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not an upsetting hire. Look at CK now in the car. CK was just cooking dinner for his kids, probably, and now he's in the car. He's like, I can't find quiet. I got to go sit in my garage in the car. Right. We got Anthony. Anthony, was it the right decision?
In terms of the candidates out there, I believe it was because Reich has proven that he can make use with bad quarterback situation. I don't necessarily think Kellen Moore has enough experience for. I don't think Tepper wanted to hire another unexperienced candidate by any means.
Yeah,
but I do think it is the right decision in terms of that. Yeah, I do. I really think it was the right hire.
Excellent.
Hey, let me ask you. Yeah, go ahead, Pickle. Go ahead.
Another good point, though, because we hired a new coach. I just looked it up. We will actually start our off-season work-ins and workouts and stuff April the 30th. Or April the 3rd, rather. April the 3rd. So the new coach with the new staff will actually get to look at Matt Corral. Maybe Matt Corral can throw the ball by then, and we'll actually talk a little bit with him then. So that may help Matt Corral or the other rookies, by the way. That'll help everybody get – oh, and by the way, I just remember a few weeks ago we signed Jacob Eason to a reserve contract. He's the only quarterback on the roster that has experience working with Frank Reich because he was drafted by Frank Reich.
I think PJ Walker might have worked with them.
Yeah. Well, PJ Walker's not under contract anymore after this.
Oh, he's not?
After this.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah. So, not saying that they can't add him to it, but,
right. Definitely.
But
to keep in mind, with the PJ thing, he was actually cut like 10 times by Frank Reich. So I do think that
he might not want to make for 11.
yeah. I do think our only quarterback right now, or only two quarterbacks that are going to be on the roster are going to be Eason and Corral up until April.
Yeah, that'd be a good chance on April the 3rd, a few weeks before the draft, so they can actually look, talk, maybe even see where Matt Corral is in his development or his offseason workouts.
You know how hard this is, what Matt Corral's doing right now. I know there's a lot of athletes can do it, but this is stuff we do in our gym, like the place I work out. And anytime you get on that, whatever that thing is called,
balance
and
beam?
you try to, what's it called?
It looks like a balance beam or something.
Yeah, it's for balance. It's for balance.
Yeah,
I've never seen it before. I've seen it around, but I've never had one.
We work with them in the gym where I go work out, and if to do that, like it'll be like this: stand on one foot and do some curls. And we always make people giggle watching Jameis Winston do those. It's hard, bro.
Yeah,
can you roll your ankle? Can you roll your ankle?
That's not for an out of shape fat man.
You would just,
But hey, it does say that Matt Corral, he is further along in his recovery process. He's doing that Liz Frank injury foot. He is getting better. It really
or
doesn't
is it the
change
right
things.
foot? We don't even know which foot it was.
Hey, yo.
Well, I think it was his
before I
left.
hop off real quick, if that's cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yo, so two things, and I'm gonna keep spamming this until it happens. Dalton Kincaid from Utah. I know I got some bias. You guys got to look up some film. We need a tight end who can block him. Boy, that kid's got hands. Okay, so Dalton Kincaid, tight end solution fixed. And then other thing, kind of negative. Do you guys think that there's going to be some negativity from the players like Shaq Thompson? We heard about from Derek Brown how they wanted Wilks, or do you think it's just they're going to take it as business and move on?
They let Reddick walk. So I mean, I think if anything, the way that I look at that, for instance, do you think that those players wanted Reddick to stay or go? They probably wanted him to stay, but they had to move on. And go and play football because right now, like it doesn't, to be quite honest, and this is going to be sounding crass, but it doesn't really matter what they think. They're going to have to go out there and earn their paycheck. Brian Burns is a big reason to want to stick around because he's going to be going for one of the biggest contracts. DJ Moore is under contract. You have a lot of these Deontay Foreman, if he decides he actually wants to stick around. I mean, if you're on the offensive side of this team right now, I think you're looking at this as like a positive.
when you see what has done in Indianapolis. I think the biggest concern is going to be the defense, and it really boils down to who they hire as a defensive coordinator, because I think that is going to be a big part of whether this defense or these players on this defense are going to be excited or not.
No, that's awesome. And then another thing, towards the end of the season, we talk about how Wilks is such a good defensive coach, and he is, love him to death. But I mean, toward the last couple of games, our defense kind of caved in on us. I know we had injuries, but our offense was lighting it up towards then. So I mean, I don't know. I'm excited, but I don't know. Keep pounding, guys. I'm gonna head out and get back to work, but I'm gonna keep listening. I love you guys. Peace.
Bye.
Peace.
I wanted to chime in here. It was
Appreciate you, Jesse.
Roughly about 31 minutes ago that a group of 10 to 15 Panther players that included captains and other leaders has made it known to the Panther brass they understood the Frank hire and were excited despite the public and we're excited to work with Frank Reich.
They're usually professional.
So, but and at the end though, I still think some of them are going to be let go just for other reasons than that.
Sure.
Shaq Thompson, you'll save a bundle on cap that you need. Yes, he's a leader, but it ain't like he was a superstar. So, I think his exit is coming anyway, regardless. So, unless he agrees to take a massive pay cut.
Right.
I'm saying that won't happen, but.
Hey, I wanted to go to Jared real quick. Jared's our resident Broncos fan, his brain. Jared, what's up, dude? Do you think the Panthers made the right decision hiring Frank Reich?
I think it's a good decision. I don't follow the Panthers much, but I remember Phillip Rivers, with the Chargers, he was looking horrible last year when he was with the Chargers. But then when he went over to the Colts, he surprised me. They made the playoffs, right? So I thought he was done with when he was with the LA Chargers at the end. And so if he got him to the playoffs with the Colts, that's pretty impressive. So, and then with Carson Wentz, they made the playoffs again or not? Did they make the playoffs when Rivers?
They did not make it with Carson Wentz.
Okay,
they did. They did have it with Rivers and Luck, but not Wentz.
Yeah,
now,
don't ever
to
trust
be fair,
Carson Wentz.
Yeah, so they didn't make it, but they were one game short of making it. So they damn near did, but no such thing as close.
Yeah, I was like, what I'm saying is Phillip Rivers, I thought I was canceling him off. I thought he should have retired much earlier, but he continued on, and he had a good last year. So with the Colts, so he should be all right. I think Wilks, if he would have performed a lot better, the second into half of the season, I think he could have had a much better outcome becoming the head coach. But whatever, the last game didn't look too great. So that's it for me.
No, yeah, great insight. I mean, we've had a lot of let me ask you, I was disappointed with the Frank Reich hiring. I know White Chocolate, you were like, it's not necessarily the most exciting move, but is there anyone in here? Okay, so what makes it blah? Why is it so blah for you?
I just think looking at his record, I think as the head coach, I think Steve Wilks could have done the same if he was the head coach at Indy. I just don't see any big factor. I mean, look at the teams that the Colts had. They were basically run first. Jonathan Taylor. Basically what we did this year.
I think it comes down to just a proven commodity in a sense. Wilks definitely could have done that, but I think Tepper wasn't willing to risk another coaching hire for someone that didn't have as much experience as another guy like Frank Reich. Now, Frank Reich, I think he doesn't jump on the page as some of these other candidates, but I think he has a higher floor than a lot of these other candidates.
Well,
that's fair.
Also need to remember, David Tepper's always wanted to hire an offensive coach. When he bought the Panthers, that's what he said. It was what he always wanted to do. And while I'm sure he respects Wilks, and Wilks was my choice, but I don't like change, and it happens. So, when I was at work and I read that we had made Frank Reich our coach, I went, okay, well, life goes on, and it's what it is. So that's my response, because I've always and something we've always, to my recollect, if I can remember right, we've always had a 4-3 defense.
Right.
But and my favorite was Rivera and Fox. But all that being said, we will more than likely go, if Frank Reich gets his man, I think that he's asked for, we'll go to Vic Fangio and the defensive coordinator, and he wants a 3-4. So it's going to change everything around.
Didn't we have
on
a
defense
3-4 the first year we were a franchise?
You might be right. I
yeah.
can't remember that far back.
It was
You
with
might be
the
right,
guy
though.
before Fox, right? It was like right before Fox we ran a 3-4.
I want to ask when we talk about with Reich,
yeah,
and if we could try to remove the emotional nostalgia. I know it's hard to. That comes with Wilks being connected to the team when we had our greatest success in 2015. If you can kind of try to remove the emotion that comes with a guy that we thought highly of, and really kind of gave us a little life in a terrible situation as an interim head coach. Is Frank Reich on this list? If you were going to rank the list of coaches available, who was the highest? I think some people were going to argue, I guess we'll argue Sean Payton, but I know before this season, nobody would have gone and said that they would have taken Steve Wilks over Frank Reich if you could have told us that Frank Reich was a potential candidate. Where is he? Was he the best coach available? Was it 1A and 1B when it comes to Caldwell, Reich, and Wilks? I've joked in the past weeks that Frank Reich is just white Jim Caldwell, and Jim Caldwell is just black Frank Reich, right? But that, are they in a kind of a lateral grouping there? Was he the best candidate available? And where do you rank him as maybe as a head coach in the NFC South currently?
I mean, he's probably the best, to be honest, because it's not a whole lot of good head coaches in the NFC South.
I mean, yeah, think about
Maybe
so
Todd
New
Bowles.
Orleans has is it Brandon Allen or Bruce Allen?
I don't
Is
even
his
know
name?
New
I
Orleans' head coach.
Yeah,
I think
there's
it's
something
Dennis.
Allen.
It's Dennis Allen.
Yeah, right. Dennis Allen, who's only been in the job for a year, again, doesn't have the resume. Arthur Smith for the Falcons, again, he doesn't have the resume of Frank Reich. And the guy
Neither does Todd Bowles, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, Todd Bowles.
Well, other than being a DC for Super Bowl winning team with the Bucks.
Yeah,
Right.
so I mean, we right now we have the most tenured coach in the NFC South who has the best record.
Who has the best chance to win it? Like, because look at our team, the way we're set up financially, our draft picks.
I think this puts us ahead of the curve. Having a coach like Frank Reich, who has done more, he was with the Eagles when they went from, whatever they were before that Super Bowl season to that Super Bowl season. He saw their upward trajectory. He was a part of it. And I think that definitely helps us in the long run. Tony, to answer your question, the only other guy that I think had a better chance was Shane Steichen. But then Benjamin Albright, he came out and reported that Steichen didn't have a good interview. I don't know what happened, obviously, but apparently Steichen did not impress in his interview. And I don't know if that's because he didn't want to be in Carolina. I don't know if that didn't have the coaches that he would be able to fall back upon. Like
Maybe
Frank
he didn't want
Reich
to draft
did.
a quarterback.
Sheena Quick said the same thing, I think. So
Maybe he didn't want to draft a quarterback.
I don't know.
I mean,
there's a lot of
Nick Sirianni had a bad interview his first go around with the Eagles. They brought him back for a second interview anyway, and then he blew him out of the water that interview. If you look it up.
Well, I think
and
I think it's fair to say there's a couple of dominoes that fell with this. I think Frank Reich came in with a plan, and I think that plan had a lot to do with who he wanted at quarterback, and maybe he and Shane Stitchen didn't have the same person in mind of who they thought was going to be the guy moving forward, whether it's somebody you draft or it's somebody you don't. And so I think it's more indicative of what decision we make at quarterback, and we're going to find out what Frank Reich's decision, obviously in April, but at this point in time, I think that's the biggest difference in my own opinion.
Do we know if he was ever a line cook?
Yeah, because that would endear him to Tepper, you know.
Exactly.
If he has a lot of kids, he evidently was at one point. But real quick, I want to throw this in there, talk about CK. I just read on Twitter, one of the beat reporters reported that Frank and the Panthers had a conversation of the quarterback situations with Indy, and that also resembles the Panthers quarterback situations. They both talked to each other about it, and he brought in a really good plan of how we can move on from that point, and we're here. So maybe he does have a great plan. So
no, I mean he probably, and that apparently that's what endeared Frank Reich to David Tepper and them, is that he had a plan laid out for the types of coaches that he wanted. So I mean, I think
there's one other thing. I think there's one other thing, and I wonder if did you see that video of the Steichen guy how intense he is in the meeting? Somebody,
yeah. Do you think maybe he got a Rule flashback?
Well, or I don't know if Rule is that into. I wonder if, because Frank Reich and Caldwell, these guys seem like really low key personalities. I wonder if Tepper wants to be the biggest personality in the room. I don't know if he wants maybe was Sean Payton too big of a presence for him in a way? Does he like these guys that are a little bit more low key, that aren't as combative maybe, and that help his own ego?
Well,
I said that from the get-go. I felt like that Tepper and Sean Payton could butt heads. Like, I don't know that their personalities mesh very well. But you go ahead and say what you're going to say there. Chocolate.
I was going to say, I think the biggest thing with Sean Payton was the draft picks. I think he would 100% sign Sean Payton if it went for all those draft picks he had to give up.
Well, I think it was also reportedly about power. Sean Payton wanted all the power. There wasn't going to be nobody except for David Tepper have more power than he had. That's what turned off a lot of teams, not just us, but nobody else is really talking to him anyway. That it's he's pretty much going to go back to TV because nobody wants to give him the power or the picks. So,
and by the way, I said this on Tuesday. I think that he has better job opportunities waiting for him next year than he even would this year. Two things real quick. Desmond Johnson from Tobacco Sports Radio and Believe in Panthers. What's up? He's in the chat. We appreciate you, brother. If you want to jump in, the link is in the StreamYard, or the link to the StreamYard is in the chat if you'd like to tap in. And that goes to anybody. We're letting fans on right now. We've got positions that we can add on stream if anybody would like to join the conversation. And then God of Blackness with a $10 donation. He says, if offered, Wilks to jump on the DC job, or all that protect the bank talk was all. I think he meant his job, put hand job, but he put my opinion. We appreciate you, God of Blackness. I think that's a great idea. And let me pose that question. If you're Steve Wilks and the Panthers go to you and they say, hey, we would like you to be the defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. You know, there was some talk before that if Steve Wilks was named the head coach, that maybe Frank Reich would come be the offensive coordinator. That was kind of always far-fetched, I think. But I think it would
be less awkward.
Would
be less awkward. You know, Steve Smith being our defensive coordinator, even if he's that nice and gracious, maybe the word, is that it's just be awkward for everybody. I think you got to more worry about him like being the defensive coordinator of like the Falcons.
Yeah,
I think we're hearing that report.
Wouldn't you hire him to pull Atlanta?
If I'm Steve Wilks, I would go to Atlanta in spite of the Panthers at this point.
Yeah.
Because
I would.
you came in here. You came in here with the history you have with the team. You had your team fighting for you. You had a better record than Matt Rule in shorter amount of games. Again, I know it's comparing a 10 to a 5, right? But as far as the fact that Steve Wilks was not offered that position, and the attorney representing them in that lawsuit came out with the statement he did, there is no way in hell they're about to put him as a defensive, or he's going to even want to be a defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Desmond in the chat says
And
if you were
fuck, it's
applying
awkward.
for a store, if you were applying for a store manager, got to the final interview, and they tell you they were going to give it to someone else, would you be the assistant manager? Would you take it? Good
Well,
point. You're probably not even going to entertain
And even worse
that.
than that,
Well, how much you
what-
making though?
what if you were the assistant manager who the old manager just quit, and they temporarily you filled in for him as manager, and the business made money and things ran well, and then they said we got to do the formal interview process, and they gave it to somebody else. Would you like to be assistant manager again?
Yeah, I would.
Hell no.
Exactly.
Hell no.
Answer somebody's question in the chat about a defensive coordinator. Frank Reich's going to meet with the media next Monday, and he's going to talk about his staff next week.
I thought it was he signs the contract on Monday, and
I
then
saw
does a press
Tuesday is
conference
going to be
on
the top.
Tuesday. Yeah, I saw
like
it
this
Tuesday.
is low.
Okay, I'm sorry. It says next week. Next week. That's just what it says.
Either
next
way,
week.
we're not going to
but
hear
either
from
way,
him until next week.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, let me welcome Daniel to the show, to the C3 podcast.
Hey guys, how's it going? How are y'all?
Doing good, man. How are you? What do you think about Frank Reich being the new coach of the Carolina Panthers?
Listen, man, my man, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Tony, by the way, you owe me a shirt that you never sent me. But
email me. I have a lot of things. I need to send it. I've been thinking about these the whole time.
I'm just messing with you, man. Just giving you a hard time. I'm a jokester, man. That's how I am at heart. But
no, but you're good. Get that shirt, man.
No, man. Listen, guys. Steve Wilks. Great guy. I'm not taking away from him that he may be a great coach and all, but in our Panthers history, man, we need something refreshing. We need something new. And the fact that he's a offensive-minded head coach, I think that it brings a different aspect that we need. And I know there's a lot of people that are going to be angry about this. A lot of people are going to be bringing out the race card. And by the way, I can do that because I'm Latino. So don't come at me. But I'm just saying, as a minority, we got to stop doing that. We have to accept that the best guy is the best fit. We can't just rely on our emotions. We can't just pick someone just because we like the guy. It has to be the best fit. It has to be what the team thinks is best, because at the end of the day, what are we here for? We want to win Super Bowl, right? So that's just my take on it. I love it. I think it's refreshing. I think it's a whole new it brings a whole new aspect to our team that I don't think we've ever seen before. So besides that, what else can be said? Is just let's see who they get as a defensive coordinator, and keep pounding as always.
And it's that this really is the first time, and I'll let you go after this, Pickle. This is the first time in our history that we've had an offensive-minded head coach. Like since 1995? Yeah, I agree. That's absurd, man. Go ahead, Pickle, and then I'm gonna introduce.
I will agree that a little bit there. Like I said, I've been a fan for a very, very long time, and I forget a lot, but this is the new territory. Our previous owner would never hire an offensive-minded guy. Never would. But real quick, Ed Warder on Twitter has said that Mike McCarthy declined several opportunities to commit to OC Kellen Moore for the Cowboys. And wouldn't say he would be returned if he's not hired elsewhere. McCarthy also said that Kellen Moore will be evaluated just like the rest of the coaches. Now, I know we're not talking about the Cowboys, but since Kellen Moore did such a good job in the interview to impress Tepper, would you think that maybe Tepper may try to convince Reich to hire Kellen Moore as an offensive coordinator here? I'm not saying I would like that, but it's a possibility.
Yeah.
You know?
It just depends on how deep Frank Reich's connects are. I mean, if he knows Kellen and has a relationship with him, maybe so. I mean, anything is possible. We're going to be guessing about this coaches for a while to come. But hey, real quick, I wanted to welcome my guy Desmond Johnson from Believe in Panthers podcast. He does a podcast with
welcome,
Jonathan
brother.
Stewart and Skylar Shulahan. We did the other day with me and Monty on his show. I appreciate him for having me. Desmond, what's up, man?
Hey, man, I figured it was easier just to pop in real quick than to keep pounding away like Kermit the Frog in the chat.
Yeah, man. Tell us your thoughts on
listen
Frank
to your
Reich.
show all the time.
Oh, appreciate you, man. Appreciate that. I figure one big happy family. Well, I don't know if everybody's happy, but one big family here. I know on our show we were pushing hard for Steve Wilks since October, I think. So we were firmly in the camp of Steve Wilks. It's funny because in the very beginning of the year, I wanted Jim Harbaugh. Like before Matt Rule got fired, like Jim Harbaugh was my number one guy I wanted them to bring in. And then when Steve Wilks took over and the team, I think it was the way we saw the team react to Wilks, they just start playing harder. And we got so used the past 2 years of seeing the team not really laid down. They just didn't play as hard for Matt Rule, where they're constantly losing by 7, by 6. They were never getting blown out, but just always losing the same way. And they figured it out under Wilks. So I think a lot of us just didn't want to go back to the unknown and wanted to stay with.
Well, what's interesting about that is we had Jonathan Stewart on the show the week that Wilks was named interim head coach, or maybe the week after. And he actually, everything he said about Steve Wilks came to fruition throughout the entire season. He's going to make these guys run through brick walls for him. He's going to have them playing every single down, and he's going to have them competing. And you know, Stu was just very high on what Steve Wilks was going to be able to do for the team, and it really worked. It just, in my opinion, and I think the opinion of many Panthers fans, is it was one game short of him being the head coach. One game was the difference.
My pushback with that was, shouldn't that be the basic for every head coach in the NFL? For your players to run through brick walls for you, like
sure,
shouldn't it be? I'd like to hear
some
something
can
more
and some can't. You know, like some have that naturally, and some are Matt Rule. You know, like some
That's why I went back to college.
dudes out of some of them, and some people just try to. I will say, Frank Reich though, as this was going on, Wilks was our number one, but Reich quickly became our number two, because some of the stuff we wanted with Wilks, Reich checked off those boxes too. You know, he's ingrained in the Panthers fabric, not as much as Wilks, but he has that in him.
Yeah.
He lives in Charlotte. He knows the fabric of the team. He's been successful. He's got a longer resume than Wilks does. So like if it was somebody else, like if they'd hired Kellen Moore instead of Steve Wilks, we would probably have pitchforks and marching down uptown Charlotte.
Well, I heard he was the second option.
Yeah, I know, which is nuts. Now, who was asking before about would Kellen Moore come over and be OC here? Jerry Jones didn't let that kid out of Dallas. Like,
I don't see that happening.
money. There's no way he'll take a lateral move like that to come to Charlotte. So I don't see that happening.
Yeah. Desmond, let me ask you while we have you, if you're Steve Wilks, where do you think it goes from here? We've heard that he's apparently the Falcons is a team that's looking to talk to Steve Wilks. You know, I saw you mentioned in the chat, you know, if you were in the running for the head coach, you're probably not just going to settle for a defensive coordinator. But what do you think Steve does from here on?
Well, a lot of it will have to do, because there's still 4 openings for head coaches around the league, and there's numerous defensive coordinator positions open. So at first we thought it was weird that he wasn't getting any calls about the DC position, but I think the league kind of knew that the Panthers are going to act on this timetable, that they'd have something before Super Bowl. So Wilks is going to have an opportunity to be a defensive coordinator somewhere if he wants it. My fear is that he's going to end up in Atlanta, because they already interviewed Al Holcomb last week. Yeah. And,
I
I think that was Wilks' back pocket plan too, in case he didn't get it.
And it
Well, I was
should
gonna
be.
say,
It should
was
be
that-
too.
I was going to say, did he already know he wasn't getting the job when he interviewed with Atlanta?
I don't. Well, Wilks hasn't interviewed with him yet, but he
Oh,
might.
I thought he already did.
No,
that was Holcomb.
They were
Holcomb.
Yeah, the
Oh,
Falcons
that's
were keeping
right.
an eye on what happened with Wilks with us before they extended the invite. I'm sure he'll probably have one by tomorrow or Monday, though. I could see him in Atlanta. I don't know. He didn't. The problem was we never saw him show interest towards any other team. So we kind of looked at it like, well, does he just want Carolina and that's it, or he's waiting to see what kind of develops from after that?
I think he had to do a little bit. He has to. When you're shooting for the head coach job first, you can't say that you're open to being a coordinator, because then you're sort of implying that you're not head coach material. I think Jim Jim Caldwell, he said it's like, I just, call me about the head coaching stuff. Now, Jim Caldwell's later in his career and has had 2 head coaching positions, so it might not be the same as Steve Wilks.
He went to a Super Bowl too.
Yeah, but I think Wilks, though, what he has to say is, man, this is our only shot at getting a real head coaching job right here. So I'm all in on this. And now with this news, I do think you have to take a DC position. It's better to stay in football than it is to try to be on the outside, getting back into it. So I don't know if he's a comparison necessarily to, I mean, would Frank Reich, how about this? If Frank Reich was not hired for this position and somehow didn't, just wasn't offered any positions elsewhere at this same time, wouldn't you expect him to take an offensive coordinator position?
Or a year off. Maybe a year off.
Whole year off.
Yeah.
What is this, Desmond? What do you think this does to the coaching fallouts, right? I mean, I don't know if this is a strange hiring cycle or not. It feels slower than some of the past ones. And, is that like, it feels like people are like, we're hiring this dude. We've already kind of worked it out secretly. I mean, that day one, somebody's getting hired, and then it's a race to hire people before someone else gets them. It seems like teams are being a little bit more methodical this year. But what if Frank Reich is the first domino? What does this do for the other coaching searches out there?
I'm not sure, because I honestly thought Sean Payton was going to be the first domino.
Me too.
And it sounds like he's not going to get a job at all.
The Dallas Cowboy defensive coordinator was up for several jobs, expected to get a couple. He pulled his name out of that. Yeah, he pulled his name out of the hat today. Said he's staying in Dallas.
I bet that's probably, he might have been assured that, hey, if this don't work out with Mike McCarthy next year, then I'm turning this over to you, Dan.
Exactly. I can see him doing an intern if Jerry cuts bait midway through.
Also,
which would open the door for Sean Payton next year, since he's no longer under contract after this coming season.
Actually, no, wait. I think he has 2 years. I think he's through 2024. Yeah, so it was just too much to give up for Sean Payton. Yeah. Basically, he's Mike McCarthy. Really, when you really look at it, his resume is almost identical to Mike McCarthy. So why am I giving up 2 first-round picks for Mike McCarthy?
Don't tell Cody that.
I just want to see I just want to see the fireworks. I want to see the fireworks between Sean Payton and Jerry Jones.
Oh gosh.
I want to see that in action.
But the remaining positions, though, are Houston, Denver, Arizona, Indianapolis. I know off the top of my head, there might even be one more I'm missing. But Indianapolis, Denver, Arizona, Houston. Am I missing anybody?
No, I think it was 5 counting us. So I think that's it. Unless somebody else got let go.
Yeah.
While we were looking.
So I wonder now how this shuffles, the leading candidates out there. And I wonder if a team actually will call Wilks up now for a head coaching position. That'd be interesting too.
Well, we were talking about this. I'm going to say this and I'm going to get out of here. We were talking about this just earlier on the Believe in Panthers podcast, where it almost would have been better for Wilks if he hadn't been the interim coach and got promoted to defensive coordinator, and Ben McAdoo became the interim. And then he got the interview for the head coaching position. Because it's almost like the interim position, I can't even think of a guy that's gotten that job out of the interim position, like really, and had success at it. And I think that might have scared Tepper off, even though they had the success at the end of the year, even though he started 3 quarterbacks and all the injuries and everything else that got thrown their way. It was almost like he got put in a hole from the very beginning. And Tepper said it. He was like, he'd have to do an extraordinary job. That's not 6-6. Like, that's something else where you can't deny it. And he got close.
Yeah.
He got real close to it. Again, whoever said it, if they beat Brady and the Bucks and won the NFC South and maybe a playoff game, then it's really hard to deny what happened. But the fact that they just they finished better than they expected to was enough to probably put some shine on Wilks. But I think Tepper wanted something different when he fired Rule, like back in September or whatever. So I don't think he ever fully thought he was going to hire Steve Wilks unless they just like ran the table or something nuts. But the more I sit here and think about it, this ain't a bad hire, y'all. This actually opens up a lot of doors that we didn't have open before.
Yeah.
We can do a lot of different. We don't have to trade up. I'm happy going to get Derek Carr and let Frank Reich be over top of him and go get a linebacker or a defensive end to pair with Brian Burns. I want an elite defense. Like seeing San Francisco tells me it don't really matter who your quarterback is if you got everything else. And we're this close to having everything else.
I still would be happy with the quarterback or something in the second round. There's a few guys I like that will be there.
Hendon Hooker.
So
Tennessee.
Yeah, that's my guy.
That's who I've been wanting.
That's my guy, dude.
Oh, you said Pickle's a Tennessee fan. You said his name.
I covered him in high school here at Dudley, up here where I am. And he took him to a state championship. He's a winner. He's 25, but he's a winner. You give him a year to recoup, you'll get it back.
And quarterbacks are playing a lot longer than they used to. So, real quick question: Do you think that Frank Reich will bring his senior defensive assistant from the Colts here?
Who was that again?
John Fox.
They're talking about Vic Fangio. They're talking about Vic Fangio. I didn't realize Vic Fangio was the first defensive coordinator in Panthers history under Don Capers. This is about bringing him back.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot all about that.
Yeah. That Gus Bradley they were talking about, he's still under contract with the Colts. So the Colts could no, we don't send him if they wanted to. But
Pickle, that was good. I applaud you on that one. I like that one. Desmond, we appreciate you for joining us, man. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find your stuff?
Yeah, Believe in Carolina Panthers, part of the Believe Podcast Network. We're on Sirius XM. All 32 teams have a podcast with a host and a former player. Ours is all-time leading rusher in Panthers history, Jonathan Stewart, Skylar Callahan from Sports Illustrated, the Panthers beat writer, and myself. You can find it on any major platform for podcasts, or if you want to see the video, it's at youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio. And we're usually on Mondays live around lunchtime. So if any of you guys ever want to pop in, feel free. We do open mailbag every episode, and just appreciate y'all having me on.
Yeah, Desmond, appreciate you, man.
Yep. And we do a show on Friday. You're welcome to pop in.
I may very well do so.
Every Friday at 7.
All right, guys, keep pounding.
Appreciate you, brother.
Great stuff. Check out Believe in Carolina Panthers, and also go and help us fan bully Steve Berline into coming on the C3 Panthers podcast on Twitter. We're continuing to court him. Please look at us. Talk to us about the quarterback.
A couple of weeks ago, Berline put he would be willing to be the offensive coordinator if Frank was the.
And then he said quarterback coach too.
Yeah, quarterback coach. Yeah, I would love that. And we still got some room. This is your show. If you want to come in and talk about Frank Reich and tell us what you think about him, hit that link in the description. I have it pinned to the top of the chat room. Go ahead.
I wanted to say this is according to Steve Reed. It's a 4-year deal for Frank Reich, according to AP sources. So Frank Reich, we don't know the details just yet, but 4-year potential deal with Frank Reich as their new head coach. Guys, what does this do? Let's continue. Any thoughts on what this does to the coaching search for the rest of the league? Is that now we're going to be, you've talked a lot about the advantage of having Reich be able to really have plans and connections and conversations in place about his staff. So you got to think he's got a head start and advantage on some of these coaches. These other teams, I wonder who are the leading candidates for Arizona, for Denver now, for Houston, and the other one was Indy.
I think it's sad. I think it's sad, but I think the leading candidate for Houston is Steve Wilks. so they can fire him after 1 year.
Man, they can't do that again. They just did that to Lovey.
I mean,
I think
who else?
All the Texans fans want D'Amico Ryan.
Yeah, that's what I was
D'Amico
getting ready to say.
Yeah, he was a former. Well, he was a former Texan player. He was the linebacker for them.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know that.
I think D'Amico Ryans is also the number one guy for Broncos. I think it's whoever grabs him first. But it wouldn't surprise me for the Broncos to fall back and hire their defensive coordinator, who's had several interviews as their head coach. Because I don't know that they're going to get a lot of other people. You know what I'm saying? Because he's been interviewed for several head coaches. I can't pronounce his name. The Broncos defensive coordinator, I really can't pronounce his name. But I'm not even going to try.
Why don't the Colts go after Jim Caldwell? They went to the Super Bowl with him.
Yeah, they're going to hire. I believe 1,000% they're going to hire Jeff Saturday. I think it's going to be I think they'll have the number. Well, they'll get what Irsay wants. They'll have the number one pick next year.
Yep.
So, Pickle, literally, as you're saying that, I'm scrolling down Twitter, and from the Colts wire, in a plea to Jim Irsay, Colts fans started a petition against Jeff Saturday as the next head coach. That's hilarious to me.
Yeah, I don't mean this any way mean toward the guy. You know what? I really think that the NFL should have Irsay examined by a psychiatrist. I really do.
Dude, that dude loves them. Apparently, that dude loves.
He likes the party.
Yeah, that's what I heard too, man.
Well, maybe he needs to party a little bit more.
He likes my nose spray.
Yeah, he needs your nasal solution, Kevin.
Maybe that'll help him out.
But real quick, let me welcome DC Bennett to the show. DC, if you're still there, what's up, man? Let's get your opinion on Frank Reich. What's up?
What's up? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
Oh, okay. What's up? This called D. That's my other name. Cody, I see you took that shirt off.
Oh man, don't start talking trash about my polo shirt.
Scott Stapp.
Come on, man. I'm looking fire in my polo shirts. What you mean?
You see, you making more sense today with that shirt off. Your knowledge is back. That's a good thing.
Yeah, all right.
I don't mind the hire. It's pretty good. It was a pretty good, decent hire by Tepper. He finally did something right for a change. We got the OC we needed, offensive minded, and he's a quarterback guru. Even though I've heard a lot of people say in Philadelphia that he wasn't calling the play. It was Doug Peterson, which that's not true. If you go back to the Super Bowl, he was the one that called primarily most of the plays in the Super Bowl, even those little trick plays that they did. That was Frank. So I don't know where they get this from. And as far as Wilks go, I mean, I like Wilks, but to me, he reminded me too much of Ron. He is from that Ron tree, but how far could we really have gone with Steve Wilks? I mean, really, let's think about it. Let's see, we went, and a lot of people say, well, he got the hand that was dealt to him this year. Well, our roster was not a sucky roster. We had a good roster. So I ain't gonna say he picked up a bunch of bums. We had a good defense. The offense, well, that was mostly because of the offensive coordinator. But yeah, he had a decent team in Carolina, so he did what he's supposed to have did, except win the big game when it counted most. But I'm glad that Frank Reich is the head coach. What about you guys? I'm
good with it. Quite a bit good with it.
Yeah, man.
Life's all about changes, and you got to adapt. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with it. I think that it was the best that we could have done. We wanted someone with an offensive mind. We've never had one in our history, and I think this is a good opportunity for us to see what we can do with Frank Reich, who does have that tenure, who does have the, like you said, he won a Super Bowl, called plays in the Super Bowl. Like I think this is the best hire reasonably that we could have made. And hey, listen, man, we're about to welcome this next guest to the show, and ask yourselves, because he always brings the energy, and I cannot wait to hear what this man has to say.
Bye, Pickle.
G baby, what it is?
What's good with you boys?
Hey, G.
What up?
What's up, man?
What up, G?
What's good with you boys?
Hey, man, tell me what you think, bro. Frank Reich, new head coach of the Carolina Panthers, man.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, G.
You don't know.
What's wrong? You sick?
I know, right? G-Baby usually always got something to say. He mute today?
Bro, I don't know.
He's just evolving into a more. Yeah, he's just evolving. That's what it is, man. Get the man a hand. He's just evolving.
What do you not know about? What do you do? What is it? Is it hesitancy? Is it hesitancy, or is it hesitancy to get excited?
I feel like man, I don't know, man.
We'll know a lot more when they hire their coordinators, I think, honestly.
Gee, what are you indifferent about? Like, why are you kind of mad about this? Like, you don't trust him?
This I don't know, man. This shit, I don't know, man.
I've never.
This shit
This
doesn't
is a
move me,
G-Baby
man.
imposter.
It gotta be an imposter. I ain't never seen G-Baby this quiet and like
This is
unsure.
This is AI generated G-Baby.
I don't know, man. We might as well have just signed Wilks, dog. That's how I generally feel. I feel like, man. I feel like this dude's not gonna make it 2 years, bro.
All right.
I'm not.
Lateral move then.
This shit does not move me, bro. I don't get excited over this shit. I mean, I was very, very upset when we hired Matt Rule. I'm upset, but I'm not as upset just because I don't know, man. What does this do for us?
This is Xanax G-Baby.
I mean, well, let me ask you this though. With Steve Wilks, then we're still talking about the offensive defensive thing. Like, don't you think that it's better that we have somebody that can maybe update our offense in a meaningful way? Gee, I know you're a CJ Stroud fan. Apparently, Frank Reich really likes CJ Stroud.
There's documentation of that.
I mean, that's just the rumors. That's what I'm hearing, man. So, maybe he might end up trying to get aggressive and, trade up. I'm not saying I know that for sure, but maybe that increases the likelihood that you're going to get that quarterback that you want.
All right. Let's bring in G.
Y'all were convincing me. Y'all kind of convinced me of this dude from fucking Philly. I was cool with the dude from Philly, but bruh, this Frank Reich shit, bruh, this dude is boring to me. I just don't understand what this man has done, even with the Colts. I mean, I remember the Colts when they had Andrew Luck. They never had great defenses. I don't even think they had great offense. I mean, you take Andrew Luck out of his offense,
He was only there for 1 year though with Andrew Luck.
So hey man, let me welcome this. Let me welcome this man to the show. He is a legend of the cat calls. You know him, you love him. It's G Cavassier. G, what's up, bro?
Hey, how's everybody doing, y'all?
Doing good, man. Doing good. How you feel about Frank Reich, man?
At this damn point, y'all, I'm just glad this shit is over. Is that G Baby right there?
Yeah, that's G Baby.
G Baby, what's good, man? I fucks with you, man. What's up, dog?
Hey, what's good with you, G Cavassier?
Hey, going on what G Baby said is like with Frank. Yeah, I agree with him, man. It's like his offense is kind of, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? What he's gonna bring to the Panthers. Hopefully, We got the damn players to make this shit work. I'm just glad Sean Payton ain't here, y'all. Like, for real.
Amen to that.
And I was the first one. I called in before.
Same.
So I was the first one to say
Same shot.
he was too expensive, y'all. Too expensive.
Yeah. Way too
Exactly.
expensive. Do you
I
think
have a
that,
question for G Baby.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Coach. No, you go ahead, Coach.
yeah, I mean, G, since you're here, man, let me ask you, G Cavassier, do you think that Steve Wilks would have been a better candidate than Frank Reich, or did you think that we made the right move going with Frank?
The only thing is, it's like this, y'all. I wanted Steve because Steve, when he was coaching, it seemed like we were back to Panther football. Like for real. Like back to like running the ball more, and the defense was fighting for this dude. You know what I'm saying? It was like how it was when John Fox was here back in the day, just like when Ron Rivera was here. When Ron Rivera left and, Matt Rule was here, we were damn off, man. But I would say Frank is a better hire because his resume is longer,
Right.
But everybody can admit, and let's be honest, that damn Atlanta game, if he would have won that shit and we would have beat Tampa, we wouldn't be having this damn conversation, y'all. My opinion.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious.
No, I think so too. It was all on that Tampa Bay game. If we beat Tampa Bay and we made it into the playoffs, I don't know how you deny Steve Wilks at that point, but it just didn't happen that way.
Yeah, the one thing.
Bro, can I say something else though, bro? Man.
Go ahead. What's
bro? This team really disgusts me, bro.
Here he is. Yes.
And you know what fucking pisses me off, bro? And I mean this from the bottom of my fucking heart, bro. We will not be shit until David fucking Tepper sells this fucking team, bro. I feel like David Tepper is a fucking cancer. I feel like I feel like he's an STD, bro. And I feel like, why are you bringing your wife into discussion? Bro.
Yep.
This shit, bro. There's no excuse for that shit. There's no excuse for that shit. The same thing with Matt Rule. Calling your fucking wife to draft Chuba Hubbard, dog. It's the same fucking shit.
Yeah, you're right.
What the fuck is your bitch even doing in the room, bro? And I feel like Jim Harbaugh. No, bro. Jim Harbaugh and fucking Sean Payton. I feel like we had a chance, but I feel like they said "fuck you" to us because of fucking. Well, why is your wife in the room, bro?
Yep.
Oh, did you mean Harbaugh didn't want to come here because the wife is in the room?
Yeah, bro. Why is she, bro? I don't think David Tepper knows a damn thing about football, bro.
No, let's understand about Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh called the Panthers 3 times, wanted to get the job, wanted an interview. Finally, the 3rd time, David Tepper said, "Dude, I'm not interested in you. Have fun where have happiness in your life. You're not coming to work for me." And they hung up the phone. Now, let's remember something. We had an owner, Jerry Richardson, who loved the power run game and the strong defense.
Yep.
He never hired an offensive coach. We now have an owner that wants offensive coaching. He wants a better offensive coaching. He loves offensive coaching. That's what we got to deal with. All right? Unlikely that he'll ever sell it because he spent too much money on it now anyway. But as far as Nicole Tepper actually works for the team. Her job title is Chief Administrative Officer of Tepper Sports and Entertainment. She actually gets a check from the company for a job. Now, this also helps the NFL in their state.
We gotta be so careful here, guys. Like this is about to get.
Let's be understanding. Right now, a lot of women are looking right now saying, "What, G? You don't like to hire women? You think women are only good to stay at the home, cook, clean, and have babies? Is that what you're saying?"
Look,
I know it ain't.
this is what Friday is, folks.
It really is.
You just watched it happen before your eyes, folks.
This is every Friday.
It's first of all, Panther Pickle's been on this show for the last hour and a half. And he has not been raised his voice even in the slightest. And now he's like screaming into the mic. We do got to be careful.
I'm
Look,
playing
here's
Red Dead Redemption too, so
maybe something would be. Maybe we could say that Tepper's wife helped him make a better decision than he would have alone. To be honest, when it comes to Frank Reich, you could say that. At the end of the day, too. All right, let's just see. What else I want to say?
You also know. I want to say this.
All right.
I feel like maybe they were going to hire Frank Reich for a while because his daughter is a part of the organization now. They hired like a week or two ago. I don't know what exactly her job is, but so I mean to kind of go back and
she
do
gets
a little bit.
Check. She gets.
Dude, I think they want to have women. They want to have women. They want to have women as a part of this organization. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. And I think that Nicole
And
Tepper,
why did our last owner leave?
Probably, I'm even willing to say that Nicole Tepper was probably one of the deciding factors in Frank Reich, because you're pitching a family environment that you're going to have a team that your family is going to want to be a part of, that they welcome absolutely everybody. So
I just think Tepper's a cut.
Let me ask y'all this.
You're entitled to think that.
If your daddy made $7 million a year, would you work?
Hell no.
Well, I wouldn't either.
No.
Yeah, probably.
I wouldn't either, but his kids go
Yeah,
to
he
work.
said no. Hey man, let me.
I'm giving them my job.
Hey, listen,
I'm
man.
bored though. Bored.
Hey, let me welcome this man to the discussion. Hold up. Let me welcome this man to the discussion. You know him and love him from the chat room. It's my dog, Bit Jordan, with that Matt Corral.
Yes.
AV, what's up, bro?
What's up, y'all?
What's up?
What's good? But how you feel about Frank Reich, Jordan?
I think it's like a 7 or 6.5.
Okay.
I'm not like G Baby said. I'm not really moved by it, but I can really get down with Frank Reich if he doesn't pick Will Levis or Hendon Hooker. I will 100% get behind.
Agreed.
But if he flop, if he pick a bad quarterback, it's a wrap. We gonna lose.
As long as you don't pick up short and skinny.
Hey, can I ask y'all a question real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, G.
I was thinking this shit because I saw this shit on Twitter before I came in the show. I pray he don't fucking bring Carson Wentz to the damn Panthers, man.
He gonna draft?
He better not.
I don't
He
think
better
that's
not.
I one thing I like though about this hire, honest myself, is something that Tepper made a statement on when he fired him. And this evidence actually to the fact that he didn't get Sean Payton seems to back that up. He's not giving one guy complete power. Now he may say Carson's available, and I can see Scott Fitter said, "No, you've been on that train twice and got your ass thrown off. We're not going on it this route."
Carson in the draft.
I believe that's what Scott Fitter would say. David Tepper would back up Scott Fitter on that. So there's other. I know that we're going to likely sign 2 quarterbacks this offseason, okay? Simply because generally you go in the offseason workouts and the training camp you have 4. And we only have 2 on the roster now, okay? And one of them's on IR, by the way. But
no,
in my opinion, is Matt Corral still not on IR?
No, he's working out.
No, he's off now.
He's posted.
I understand he's working out, but you can work out still be on IR. But
Yeah, he finished the season.
He's on the roster. So
What was it?
I believe we'll sign a free agent and
Yo,
we'll
who the
trade him.
hell?
I'm not
Yo, Carl, I know you're not in here talking shit about Matt Corral,
Did I
man.
just hear Corral sucks?
He does suck. He's injury prone. He was injury prone in college. He showed it last year that he's still injury prone. He sucks. Come on, guys. So you rather have?
He sucks for being injured. I'm not even gonna argue that. I'm not even gonna argue that he
He
sucks for being
don't
injured.
suck out. How are you gonna say that he sucks when we haven't even really
He
gotten to
sucks.
see him
He sucks.
play
Cody, did
NFL
you?
football?
Cody, did you even watch him in college? You're supposed to be a great evaluator. Did you really watch him? No, he was not. What games was you watching?
I'm not arguing him.
Bro, I guarantee you, I watched more Matt Corral Ole Miss
Yeah, for
films
sure.
than you did. That guy has all the talent that you want at that position.
Matt Corral fits the offense his coach ran in college, just like Hendon Hooker fit the offense his coach ran in college. Now, you cannot ask a rookie quarterback to look like a pro unless he's been in a pro to look like a pro.
Right, Jeff.
You still not changing my mind. I don't care what you say. You still not changing my mind on Corral. So sorry.
Hey, hold on, everybody, time out. Hold up, let me welcome my man Jay Stubbs. What's up, buddy?
Jay Stubbs, let's go.
What up, bro? How y'all doing?
Free for all.
Cody, man,
Jay
bro,
Stubbs,
your goddamn mic, bro.
What?
I don't think that's Cody.
Hey, Tony, how many times, bro, Tony?
Yeah,
Whose
get on
mic are you
Tony.
talking about?
Fuck, the mic you're on, G, the mic, man. Tony, you know what I'm you know what I'm talking about, dog.
What?
Cody Lack's mic be cutting in and out, man.
I know. We've been working on it. We've been trying to work on it. We can't figure out what it is, to be honest.
Tony, what you want us to do at quarterback, Tony?
What's that?
What do you want us to do at quarterback?
I have one thing first before we say this is that I can't get out of this head that White Chocolate Espresso said that David Tepper is a cook.
Oh yeah,
if there is a line to apply to have sex with billionaire wives,
oh my god, dude.
I'm in that line, dude.
Right?
Dude.
All right, just putting it out there. Now,
just putting it out there.
Get your ass in trouble, man.
Lying to like from Jordans.
No, man, I could use some brakes, the rear brakes on the truck, maybe or something. But with quarterback is I think that Frank Reich gives us some flexibility at quarterback. One, and that is you could say, look, this is you never gave me. He never really had one in Indy. Once the luck thing debacle happens, right? And they never. Really tried to come up with a secondary plan. They were just doing what we did over the last few years, and that's going from veteran to veteran. But he's shown that he's capable with veterans more so than like Matt Rule was or something like that. So it's not like it would be a downgrade for us if we got a Derek Carr or he came in and worked with Sam Darnold for a year and you try to get him a quarterback. Now, what that quarterback solution is it at 9? Is it at 2? Do you have to trade up to get it? I think you could let it come to you more with Frank Reich. Shut up. Like the draft pick. Let the draft kind of fall your way instead of having to force it over. Is that you might feel comfortable enough with his quarterback evaluations. I think that he helps us with the evaluation of the quarterback process too, as being a more experienced quarterback and playing quarterback. And you're hoping you're hoping you get like a Mahomes at 13. You don't even really want to be that team that has to trade up to get the guy. I mean, it would be cool if you did and it worked.
Purdy.
Yeah, or do something insane like that, or just let somebody fall to you. And where you don't have to over force your hands and put so much in. So I do think he gives us flexibility at quarterback. I don't know. I'm kind of into. I like Will Levis a little bit personally.
No, you don't, Tony.
Oh my god!
Don't fuck you don't.
You were serious?
Tony, no, don't even wish that, bro. Tony, don't.
I just say this is I think a lot of people. I mean, you guys have not you guys specifically that have said I should like them, but people have told us that traits. What you see, look, Josh Allen. That's it. Is like if you only base them on what they do in college, then there are no Josh Allens.
Somebody talking like Darth Vader, bro.
What y'all gonna do?
This is
do come the draft when they draft Will Levis at 9, and we got
Well,
Will Levis and
I
Matt
wouldn't be in
Corral
love with
as
that.
our starting
Will Levis at 9. I'm a Texans fan. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but
I'll
what
cry,
if I think
bro.
AR? I think some of these guys could fall into the second round.
You know,
How
me,
about defensive
this,
end, guys?
Mine,
I'm all for drafting the best available player for our needs
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the first pick and drafting a quarterback later. That's my personal opinion. Though.
Unless we can get.
And
CJ
by the way,
Stroud.
I'm not even. And how about this? I am more confident that Matt Corral beats Will Levis in a competition than I am almost any other quarterback in the draft.
But that's a wasted
If there
pick,
is
though.
if there's a legit competition between Matt Corral and Will Levis, Matt Corral's winning that shit.
Okay, so
dog.
if that's what you're saying, then Cody Lack, then that's a fucking mistake on our part for even drafting fucking Will Levis at fucking 9, bruh.
I think that's his point.
Yeah,
I agree.
I don't think we will, but one thing we need to remember: Will Levis, is not going to play in the Senior Bowl.
Yes,
and
he's
he
too
hasn't
injured.
told anybody
That's
why.
oh yeah. See what the fuck are we? God damn it! Can I ask you guys
let's
something?
not get overdone into the Levis thing. I'm just saying, I'm not an expert.
How about defensive end?
No, I thought you was trolling. I didn't know if you was trolling or not, Tony.
No, I just think this is that's one of those. I know. I think he might be better than people think when we get down the road. I don't know if it's the right fit here or not.
I think he fits with Frank Reich does. I mean, Andrew Luck. You had.
I hope he trade up and get CJ Stroud.
But how the thing for me is I do agree with what you saying. Like he does, like Frank Reich gives us flexibility in the sense that he can probably work with any quarterback. But when it comes to like picking a quarterback, he's been asked. It's so weird to me because nobody's like alarmed by him trading a first and a third for Carson Wentz for a year.
I bet it was the GM. I mean, that could have been Earth.
No, he swore by Carson Wentz, y'all.
Yeah, the price point is not right. He did throw 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions,
and was gone the next year.
I know.
Right.
We're getting
that
Brisket.
last game of the year, he really killed himself.
Scott
We're gonna
Fitter's
bring in
already
Brisket.
screwed himself over spending good draft picks on bad players,
Yes.
on bad quarterbacks. I don't think Scott Fitter's going to let that happen.
But you put Scott and Dan Morgan, Baker and Sam with Frank Reich, which was Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz. You probably gonna get Will Levis or Hendon Hooker.
What has Scott Fitterer done for this fucking team, bruh?
You know what?
Before I draft a quarterback, unless it's C.J. Stroud is sitting there, before I draft a quarterback at 9, I'm going to pick somebody else and draft a quarterback. Draft Stetson Bennett in the second round.
What about Bryce Young at 9?
Y'all later.
Bryce Young.
Still
All right, G.
the first pick on a quarterback.
Appreciate you, G.
I got a quick question for y'all. I called in earlier, and I don't know if you guys got my damn call, but if y'all didn't, I'm gonna repeat it now. What the hell the Panthers gonna do? Come the next pick is Bryce Young is taken, Will Levis is taken, C.J. Stroud is taken, Anthony Richards is taken, all them quarterbacks.
Defensive end, baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Defensive end, tight end, wide receiver. We got lots of those.
No, fuck that. Hey, you know what I'll do with that, G. Cavassier?
What's up, man?
I'm a draft Bijan Robinson, the running back out of fucking Texas, because there's levels to this shit.
Nice.
Yeah, bro. Bijan Robinson is a top 3 pick in this fucking draft, hands down, bro. Hands down, bro. Bijan Robinson is a mixture between fucking Saquon Barkley and Adrian Peterson, and he's better than both of them coming out of college, bro. I promise you. I'm taking Bijan at 9, bro.
That's crazy.
Taking Bijan at 9.
And to me, it's like
a punter before
it's like
I draft a running back in the first round.
Nah,
get that running back on a rookie contract, bro. I'm taking Bijan Robinson.
And another thing,
running back.
let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go
Since Frank is the head coach now, is Scott safe? Do you think come week 1 or by the draft, you think Scott's still gonna be our daggone GM, or you think Frank's gonna bring somebody else in?
Frank needs to bring someone else in, bro. Scott Fitterer don't do shit.
I don't think Frank's the head coach. He ain't got the power to bring somebody else in. He's just the head coach. He's not over the GM.
I definitely think Fitterer can get scapegoated though, for sure.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
I think Fitterer can get the blame for a lot of this if the season ends terrible next year. Like you can't blame Frank, you can't blame
He got the
Tepper.
wrong quarterback. Yeah.
If Scott Fitterer don't stand up for himself, he should. If Scott Fitterer, listen, if I'm the GM, and there may be a good reason I ain't. If I'm the GM and the head coach wants somebody, convinces the owner that's what we have to do, y'all bet your ass bottom dollar everybody gonna know about it.
Got to.
I would tell everybody that, hey, it's on him. They don't.
Well, that's why.
Just like John Fox did when they asked him about the staff his very last year with the Panthers, and he said, "That's not my department. That's the personnel department."
He's the ass Marty.
Yeah, well, he asked the personnel department. Everybody knew right quick where that was going.
What's the ass Marty? Don't ask me.
And John Fox is still in the league, so ain't no problem. That's what I do.
Bro, Scott Fitterer don't do a damn thing for this fucking organization, bro. There's no reason for David fucking Tepper to be picking the goddamn head coach, bro. We're not gonna. That's not a winning form. He don't know shit about fucking football, bro.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny?
Most owners do.
Most owners that know shit about fucking football. At least I can say Jerry Jones knows actually shit about fucking football. He's got Super Bowl wins. David Tepper don't know a goddamn thing about fucking football, bro. I'm telling you, man, he has destroyed this fucking organization, bro. I built this fucking team, bro.
It's
What
funny
are you talking about, pickle?
It's funny how we didn't want Puff Daddy to own the team. Now we got an owner all in the GM room,
all in the video.
all in the, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's funny.
Hey Cody, did your QB
fucking
rankings
hilarious.
change? Or still the same?
I mean, I'm not really like done. I'm not cemented on them. Yeah, right now, I mean, I think Anthony Richardson has the highest physical upside. I feel like Bryce Young is the most ready to play right now. And I like CJ Stroud, but I don't love him. I just don't love him. I mean, he had a good game rushing the football. He does have a big time arm. But I don't know. I just feel like when he's pressured in the pocket, I feel like CJ Stroud can tend to kind of crumble a little bit. So
That's your
I don't know, man.
I mean, a lot of people do that though, Cody. Tom Brady crumbles in the pocket sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the name of the game,
we'll
bro.
see,
People
man.
don't want to get hit. They don't want to get hit.
I want to shout out though that I did read, and I need to own up to this. I did read earlier that Bryce Young is actually seeing a nutritionist.
Yeah, he's trying to bulk up.
No, don't walk that shit back. He eat them motherfucking words,
What's our
bro.
old guy's name? What's the
Nah. You been shitting on Bryce Young the whole fucking time. I ain't letting you off that shit, bro. Fuck is you talking about, pickle?
I would draft a punter. I draft a long snapper in the first round, and a punter in the second, and a kicker in the third before I take that overrated Bryce Young.
Damn. Nah,
Hey,
hell
but how
no.
about this, man?
I would just
listen.
nobody before I draft him.
Listen, it's okay to say that the player being 185 pounds, that's a cause.
Hey,
for
Cody,
concern.
what's our old strength and conditioning coach that got busted for steroids? We need to bring him back if we're going to draft Bryce Young, bro.
Yeah,
that dude needs to get on the juice.
He might be in prison though, but maybe he can get a weekend leeway.
Is he in prison for real?
I mean,
I don't know. I don't know. I know he was being investigated by the FBI.
It was for steroids, right? Basically.
What was his name? I'll Google his ass.
Was it Vermeil?
Vermeil, yeah. Vermeil.
Ryan
no,
Vermeil,
that was
maybe?
the doctor, wasn't it? Wasn't that the
Yeah,
doctor?
he was. Yeah, he was like, "Hey, man, take this D-ball, take this shit."
Yeah, dude, that's wild.
Think about it.
Hey,
I mean, TD got busted, right?
J Subs, we never got your opinion on Frank Reich. Are you happy with the hire?
This is my thing, bro, and like, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's like I have no idea, dude. Like, I'm not hot, I'm not cold. It's like, dude, I'm not excited. Like, I'd rather just kept Steve Wilks if we were gonna hire Frank Reich. But I mean, I'm not. I guess, bro, I'm not too sure. It's better than Matt Rule, but shit. I mean, damn. We got a long way to go, though. That's a fact.
I just want to know who the hell he's gonna bring in. It's like our offensive line coach did his damn thing this damn year. Is he still gonna be there?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And to me, like I'm saying, I just want to know who the hell the OC and the DC is going to be. That's what I really want to know. and who the hell we gonna pick up in free agency? Because I'm telling you, a dude that I swear that I want is that dude. What's his name? Van Ish or Vander, whatever, the middle linebacker out of the Cowboys. He a free
Leighton
agent.
Vander Esch.
Hell no.
I would love for that motherfucker.
He stay hurt, bro.
Yeah.
I would love.
He does stay hurt.
Man.
Hey man, we need to go big game fishing, man, and that's for fucking DeAndre fucking Hopkins, man.
That would be good, but I know we can afford it, G, baby.
Like I don't give a fuck. And if we go get DeAndre Hopkins, we better go get fucking CJ Stroud, or fucking why not draft up and go get Justin fucking Fields, man.
Is
Like,
Hopkins
that's it.
bringing the steroids?
Wild to me.
I would
Young?
do that too.
Hopkins
I would
can
do
bring the
that for Justin
steroids
Fields.
for Young.
Oh, shut up, dude! That was a nothing test. That's what that was.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a
last year.
nothing. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL, Kevin.
That was like this year, bro.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, like less than a season.
Whatever, man. Dude, forget about that dumb shit.
I'm
one
good
of the
on
best
trading for a guy that uses steroids.
Drugs. Forget about his big ass
in the
contract that he
NFL.
wants another one.
Dude,
He wants
if you had
like
him,
$30 million a year.
He wants another
dude,
contract.
He's already getting paid 19 this year.
Who would you cover on the field if you had DJ Moore and DeAndre Hopkins? Like, come on, man.
A drug test. That's who I would use to cover him.
I gotta show you. Oh, I forgot. I gotta show you guys this. Are y'all ready to laugh? Are y'all ready to laugh? Oh, it's speaking of hold on, Ty. Let me go. What did I do with it? Carry conversation. Let me find it. I forgot. I lost it.
Yeah, I mean, listen. These are all the moves I'm cool with. I'm cool with trading for Justin Fields. I don't think they'll do it, but I'm cool with it. I love the talent.
I mean, that means they get 2 top 10 draft picks. I mean, straight up for the 9th pick.
I would
Bruh,
get
I mean,
pick to move up, bro. I really would. If we
But-
can get, if
so,
we can get one of
okay,
these quarterbacks, bro, I would do it. Especially if Frank Reich loves them.
And
y'all already know how I feel about CJ Stroud. I don't gotta fucking.
if we're gonna draft someone, even though he hasn't had a lot of experience, I would draft Anthony Richardson. I would have no problem with a battle between Matt Corral and Anthony Richardson. Like, then you have everything. I know G Baby and Carl D, they don't like Matt Corral, but hey, let them battle
like
it
Anthony
out,
Richardson,
man.
though.
Let them go out there, let them play, and let them see who the top dog is going to end up being. I think between the two of them, yeah, we would definitely find that one of those guys is more than capable.
As long as it's not Derek Carr, bro, I'm good.
All right, I found it. Guys. Don't put the comments up for just a second. This has been deleted now by Robbie Anderson, but I got the screenshot of it. The internet always wins.
Nice.
This was today. And it was at 5:01, so it wasn't even up there when I got very long. It says, "Dog, the NFL funny. I break some of my silence by announcing I'm going back to school. Now they want to random piss test me, shaking my head. The only other time they made me drop piss when I snapped the Monday night game. Shaking my head. I don't do drugs. That junk ain't good for you. I'm elevating." This might be.
Yeah, he needs to take some steroids, bro. Because
This is the funniest shit I've ever heard.
Bobby was right.
My man, the NFL said that he's like, man, this NFL's whack, bro. Man, the NFL, they was like, you ain't going back to school, Robbie. You must be on drugs. He said he was going back to school, and they were like, man, this mug must be on drugs.
That's.
I mean, with this
I got tickled, man. I got tickled by this dude. It's like he's like, man, this is the NFL. They coming after me. They don't believe me. Nobody believes me.
Hey, Cody, where did you hear that rumor that Frank Reich liked CJ Stroud?
Dude, a couple of days ago,
we got trade up and get him, bro.
Dude, my entire Twitter was putting that on my timeline a few days ago, man.
Yeah, Benjamin Albright said that. He said that.
Oh my god! Oh, bro. I don't even like to get back, bro.
I would call Chicago.
Then you
would
love
Frank Reich.
If we get the first pick, I'm taking Bryce Young. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh no! Oh, hands down, Bryce the Truth Young all day. But CJ Stroud, I'm telling you, bro.
I love
Bryce. Hall of Fame talent, dog. That boy's IQ, bro.
Hold on.
CJ Stroud's football IQ is insane.
Time out. Why is Bryce so much better than CJ?
What does he not do? He literally does everything. He just
can diagnose the play. He can make accurate throws. He can improvise. Like
there's nothing he can't do.
And he's official 6 foot tall too. G.
No, yeah, he's about 5'10".
That was official. It's official, bro. It's official.
All the time.
That's
all right, well, at the NFL Combine, when it's official, y'all gonna eat your words. It's cool. Y'all gonna eat your words, bro.
That he's 6 foot on the combine. I'll come on the next Friday free for all and tell everybody I was wrong.
Now there was a wild picture of him standing next to Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray, it was the same height. I think Kyler was a little taller than him.
They listed in college. They listed Kyle Murray as 6 foot.
You saw that picture?
They come, and they wasn't.
That picture of Kyler Murray and Bryce Young standing next to each other.
Yeah, they're the same size, probably, right?
And how what size is Kyle Murray?
He's 5'10".
He little, bro.
Exactly.
All right, fellas, I got a ride, y'all.
All right,
man, be good.
It was nice talking to y'all. Keep pounding, y'all.
Keep pounding, brother.
I want to do something.
That Ryan Vermillion, the trainer, he didn't go to prison. They did a plea agreement of some sort.
That's what they always do. Well, that's what, yeah.
It's on the whole league, bro.
He, you know what? He just started snitching on that owner, and he was like, "Man, I got a good case for you. Aren't you about to go before Congress? This guy, I got some shit for you." Let's do this. Let's take a couple of calls real quick and see what. There's a couple of people in the voicemail still. Here's the 252-228-5098.
Yo, what it do, C3? It's Anthony from Charlotte. New coaching hire today. Man, we got Frank Reich.
Shorter than Kyler.
I do want to say thank you, Steve Wilks, for coming in here and being a very serviceable coach when our season looked lost. The NFL is bullshit. You know, I do think there is a little bit of racism involved with it. Or maybe it's just the NFL has higher standards for black coaches, a.k.a. why Mike Tomlin's still in the league, because he wins every year. But at the same time, you know, I've been calling in for weeks. I had been saying that, you know, most interim guys just don't get the job. You know, like they just don't. I brought up the Rich Bisaccia example many times. And the other part of this is I think Tepper simply wanted an offensive-minded guy, you know? I don't see the Panthers passing on a quarterback this year. There's some rumors ramping up about, you know, the Panthers trading up now, and man, I can see it. I can really see it, you know, with those McCaffrey picks in the first round. I mean, it's been so many years where we haven't drafted a quarterback, so I definitely think that's a major selling point that Frank Reich brought in is, hey, you've seen me have some really good winning seasons with old aging quarterbacks considered bust, Jacoby Brissett. Let me draft my young guy and let's get this thing going. I really think that's what it's going to come down to. I think the guy's going to be C.J. Stroud. I don't want to speculate a bunch. You know, I had my stance on Sean Payton, but at the same time, the draft compensation was a little crazy. So we ended up getting an offensive-minded coach for the cost of nothing. You know, I really hope we can turn this thing around, man. It's the new age of football. I really excited about where this team can go. Hoping we can hire Vic Fangio or Gus Bradley to be the defensive coordinator. And yeah, I mean, those are my thoughts. I know Frank Reich was the first quarterback here. So I'm really hoping he can bring us, you know, some stability. And, you know, the NFC looks wide open. So good thing we got our coach now. Hopefully we can, you know, figure out where we go from here. And I know we always talk about quarterback, but it is by far our biggest hole and misleading part on the roster. So yeah, you boys already know. Thanks for your time. Anthony from Charlotte, C3, keep motherfucking pounding, baby.
Keep pounding. Appreciate you, man. I agree. It was the offensive-minded thing that put Frank over the edge. But by the way, I've got a photo up of Kyler Murray standing next to Bryce Young. And yeah, Bryce is like, without the hair, yeah, he's a full inch shorter than Kyler Murray. So I agree with Pickle. He's probably going to be like 5'10", maybe 5'11" when he measurement. But if you draft Bryce Young, you're doing it because you think that his talent is so much better than what his physical size is capable of. Now, it's still a legitimate criticism to say maybe his frame doesn't hold up to an NFL beating. Like, that's a legitimate concern that people can have. But I don't know, man.
I think in that picture, I saw a bigger version of that picture. He's wearing slides and Kyle's wearing shoes, so that might be a little bit of a factor. But I still think they're around the same height, like 5'10".
Yeah, he's definitely not tall. Like, I mean, whether it's 5'10" or 11 or 6 foot, that's still not tall, right? And he's definitely slight of build. Now, you could grow it. The question is this is his? He's could be, what is he? 21, 22?
I think he's 21.
Yeah, so it's not like his body is finished developing by any means.
This was back in 2019, bro.
Oh
no!
This commercial, this Heisman commercial, when he won the Heisman, wasn't that 2019, 2012?
No, it was the year before, 2020.
I'm pretty sure they do these commercials a year after you win the Heisman.
Yeah. This is the Heisman.
Either way, and the other thing, though, I guess
could he do it with the NIL? Was the NIL out?
Yeah, because it's for the NCAA. I think that commercial, isn't it? It's not like
Yeah, that's for the NCAA. I'm telling you, this was like 2000. That's just from what I remember, but I could be wrong.
But here is, do you guys think that if that saying Bryce Young is the best quarterback in this class, is that with the idea that he'll be the best quarterback in 3 years, or is it more so because he's the most well-rounded quarterback? And
Tony, he's coming in with an offensive rookie of the year, G.
Okay.
Bryce Young's coming in with that type of fucking talent, bro. Hands down,
Calvin
bro.
Ridley and DJ Moore.
Hands down, bro. You put DJ Moore and you put a couple more weapons around fucking Bryce Young, bruh. Magical, bro. And you guys wanted to keep the fucking pieces on that defensive side of the ball, so I guess we don't have to worry about the defense, right? We got this top 10 offensive fucking line, right?
That some people might not love him as much and have some concerns about the size.
I think
it's not entirely out of the question that he couldn't be there at 9.
I think Anthony Richardson has the highest ceiling, but he also has like the.
Cody,
he
can you answer his original
bust.
question? He was talking about how he said, "Who do you think is going to be better 2 years from now?"
I mean, 2 years from now, again, it's hard to know because I don't know how Will Levis and Anthony Richardson are going to evolve as quarterbacks. They have all the physical tools, but there's no guarantee that they make that Josh Allen type of jump. Now, I think that they can. I just don't know if they will. To answer Tony's question, like who's ready to play right now based on the offensive systems that they run, their talent, yeah, Bryce Young probably is the most ready to play at the NFL level right now.
Bro, Bryce Young plays in the SEC, the best conference in fucking football, hands down. Winning national championships, winning Heisman. Let's be honest here, bro. Like, there's levels to this fucking shit. Bryce, the truth, Young, bro. Steph Curry of fucking football. There's no fucking comparison. No night and day, bro. There's only 2 great QBs, generational type talents, and that's fucking Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. There's only 2 that are even worth trading up for, bro.
But
hands down, bro.
Generational
type fucking Hall of Fame type talents, bro.
You're not 5'10", 185 pounds and a generational talent, no matter how good you are, G baby. No one's saying that he's not.
I just say, Cody, Stephen Curry's not the biggest motherfucker in the NBA, bro. And look what he's the greatest. He's probably going to go down as the greatest basketball player ever, bro. When I say his
not being tackled by 310-pound men, dude.
It's not worth passing up on Bryce Young.
Tackled by defensive tackles. It's not a good one-for-one comparison.
Bro, he was going up against the biggest D tackles and the best pass rushers in the SEC with no issues.
Yeah, the person that really got hurt was Will Levis.
NFL level. Listen. I'm not saying that Bryce Young is not nice, but for you to just dismiss the fact that him being like 5'10", 185 pounds, there's a reason why all the scouts are not low on him, but they think that it's a problem. And you don't know that it's not going to be. How many other successful quarterbacks have you ever heard of at that height and weight, other than Russell Wilson and Drew Brees? There's only 2 of them. Only 2 of them.
Nobody's been that light before.
Yeah, no one has been that light. Now, I can give you a bunch of examples of 6'5", 235 pounds. Yeah, that works a lot. But he is going to have to prove that he can hold up to an NFL. And that's a legit concern.
It's reasonable. I think this is, and if it is, then if that is a reasonable concern, hopefully some other people will have it, and he'll be there at 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. If he's there at 9, like it's whatever.
What I do like about Bryce Young here is that even his detractors, the people who have concerns, haven't said that. It's just more of a concern of him being able to hold up. They have not questioned
anything
his
else.
His talent level, because I feel like this is what, and what I was trying to kind of get to when I say what's he going to be in 2 years, 3 years, is sometimes you look at players and you're going off of what they are now, and then other times you're looking at what they could be. And so like the Herberts, the Allens, those are more could be players that when they came in the league, not you weren't drafting them for what they were right now. Bryce Young, seemingly, since nobody is talking about his arm strength in a negative way, no one's talking about his, all these other things in a negative way. It almost seems like he has the right now and could be factor, but also just the concern of his, the durability just simply because of his size. It kind of just reminds me of like when you have Calvin Ridley and DJ Moore, those 1 and 2 receivers that year. Remember how we picked and then Atlanta picked, and you had kind of the who's going to be better over the next 2 years, and then who could be better in years 3, 4, and 5. And I think Calvin Ridley was the I'm better right now guy, and I'm still going to be good. But DJ Moore was pretty good right now guy, but could be great.
Yep. And he has lived up to
we had
that.
that recently with JC and Patrick Surtain. Like JC went, and then Patrick Surtain went. But we know how that's going to end, though.
Yeah. But so that's a good thing
It's
for
okay to
Bryce
bet
Young,
on
though.
talent.
I think that's impressive that no one's over there going, well, it's his arm strength, too. They're not just going, oh, he knows how to read the defense. No one's talking about his football ability. They're just talking about his potential durability. So that's a good thing for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm of the mindset that going into this draft and going into any draft, you have to take bets on players because that's what the draft is. You're gambling. There's no guarantee that any of these dudes are ever going to work out long term. But for example, if they go into the interview thrown away by a certain player who then checks every single box, yeah, I'm okay with you go and get your guy.
Yeah, we did last year.
I mean, to a degree, but I'm also talking about specifically the quarterback position. Like it's possible that one of these quarterbacks blows them away in all the team meetings, going through the playbook and all that, and they might fall in love with a guy and decide, all right, maybe we do need to trade up to get a CJ Stroud or whoever it might be, I just don't want us to reach, man. That's the only thing I don't want. I don't want us to reach on a quarterback because all Panther fans have collectively decided that we're not allowed to come out of this draft without having drafted a quarterback in the first round. Like that's how you pass up on premium talents at other positions. And I don't want to do that.
Right.
That's how you take Jamarcus Russell instead of Megatron.
Damn, that happened?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Calvin
think
Johnson.
also is that Jamarcus Russell did win the national championship or play in the national championship that year. He did have like some crazy, decently good season or good,
I don't think
but
he
it was
won.
the Jamarcus Russell throwing from his knees. There was this one
70
video
yards.
that was floating around. Yeah, and he was on his knees, like just working out, and he just chunks it like It was like 70 yards. It was insane.
He did have a
I remember that
all-pro
video.
at receiver, though.
That was nasty.
And it was like one of those, like, do you remember that commercial that they had where it was like, I guess LeBron making that crazy fade away, like cross court fade away, and then some dude threw the football into the stands, and everybody that was Mike Vick. Mike Vick threw it out of the stadium, and people.
Well, a lot of people were worried about Burrow because Jamarcus Russell had the same thing. He had 2 all-pro, wide receivers with him in college.
Yeah.
Dwayne
I mean, the problem with Jamarcus Russell is a couple of things. One is he was, and then the other is that he literally sipped scissor. Yeah. He liked to drink Robitussin. It was like he was like a 20-year, like he went for, like he just kept on, like he never quit the national championship parade. He just stayed with it.
Yeah, they had no rookie salary cap back then. So
he got paid $50 million guaranteed, like right out the gate.
Yeah.
He was like, man, I'm just gonna drink 500,000 gallons of Robitussin.
This check.
Can I just jump in here real quick and say I'm so happy that we have our coach and that we don't have to fucking do this endless speculation of Shane Stitchen or Ben Johnson or is Steve Wilks.
I felt good about it.
Now we know. Now we know. And listen, if you're not a super fan of Frank Reich, that's fine. I feel like I say at the start of every season, it's prove it season, man. We're not giving no one flowers until they prove their worth. And I think that that's also true with Frank Reich. But we have a reason, man. We've never had an offensive-minded head coach. Now we have that person in the building. We get to pair him with the quarterback. Corral. Oh, man.
Yes.
I think that he can, and that would be an incredible story. But even if it's not, whoever we're going to get the opportunity to pair Frank Reich with for the rest of our, for the next 10 years or whatever, dude, this is a new day in Panther football. Yeah, man. I mean, dude, I'm pumped, man.
If he don't get his guy, he's done in 2 years. If he don't go get his QB, he's done in 2 years, bro.
That's a fact.
No, that's a dude.
No,
he has
if
to
he
get the
roll Matt Corral. If he roll Matt Corral, he gonna win. But
nah, bro.
I don't understand why Will Levis.
Pee-wee ain't doing shit, bro.
Didn't we just talked about
he a broken foot away, bro. I'm not
win the division with Derek Carr next
that
year.
motherfucker, bro. No way, bro.
He could win the division with Derek Carr next year.
I don't got Derek Carr beating out Matt Corral. I don't.
What?
Hey, how about this? How about this?
Oh, that's crazy, bro.
The Derek Carr you saw.
I told you about Baker. I'm telling you about Carr.
Hey, if Derek Carr,
Derek Carr is a way better quarterback than Baker Mayfield, bro. You're
if Derek Carr, let me
hell
tell you
yes.
this.
No,
let me tell you this. If
Matt
Derek
Corral
Carr
couldn't even beat out the QBs on this bum ass roster. Get the fuck out of here.
Derek Carr can't move, bro. He's a statue. Derek Carr can't move.
Carr is very consistent. Look at Carr's stats.
Not.
They're always
He
consistent.
throws like, dude, Derek.
Look at his stats.
Dumb
Every year they're the same
interceptions.
numbers, like 24 touchdowns to 12 interceptions.
Too many
Every single
boneheaded
year.
interceptions. I'll tell you this: if we traded for Derek Carr, he would get
We're not
injured
trading
in the
him.
middle of the year.
No, we're
and
signing
Matt
him.
Corral would end up taking over.
It wouldn't even be that, Cody. Matt Corral whoop his ass straight up.
I'm not saying we trade for him, but if he's a free agent, I'll take him.
Yeah, he could be a backup holding the clipboard, crying, preaching.
Y'all gonna not to that Pee-wee hope until that motherfucker's cut, bro.
Cody, I know you watch some Matt Corral interviews. Doesn't it feel like him and Frank Reich like personalities match?
Yeah, man. I feel like they do. I feel like they're just.
Does Frank Reich have a personality?
They're personable. They're workers, and I feel like they're at their best when nobody believes in them.
When
they
everybody.
This might be a Matt Corral.
When they have,
who knows?
Yeah,
That's
man,
almost
dude,
everyone.
you never know, man. And I mean, I just want the man to get an opportunity. Like he didn't have one last year. Playing behind the fourth string offensive line and receivers. Like that's why I don't understand people dissing him for a couple preseason games. Like, what the fuck are we talking about,
bro? Bro, there were people in the chat that say he was 5'11", bro, and like that's how you know you like or dislike a quarterback. When they get smaller and smaller, you dislike them.
Right? They're just lying about how tall he is.
Bro, people keep saying Will Levis is 6'4", he's 6'5". I'm like, this dude is 6'3". He's the same size as Sam Darnold.
Yeah, Matt Corral is almost the same height, but is shorter by half an inch, shorter by like half an inch or something like that. So, dude, we got our quarterback. I'm pumped.
Like it.
I mean, not yeah, we got our coach.
Now you're right. You're right.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, you're right. We do have our coach.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got Matt Corral, Glock 9. What's up? Spirit Gun. I love it. Tony, you ready to get out of here, man?
Yeah. Look, I just want to remind everybody Friday night, Friday free for all guys.
We're gonna do this again tomorrow at 7 p.m.
Yeah, and maybe there'll be
tomorrow.
some cool more news, like kind of leaking out and some different things in the next 24 hours. We'll continue the C3 Panthers podcast is here on Tuesday nights, and we bring you content throughout the week. You can support us just by going to YouTube, smashing the thumbs up button, subscribing to the video. Check us out we're on all the platforms, Facebook, Twitter. Help us grow one person at a time. Continue the fan bullying campaign of Steve Berline. Let's bully him into coming on the show, right? And look, there's nothing wrong with bullying somebody in a good way. Be like, take this money and get some gas. Take this money and get some gas. Nothing wrong with that. So let's get some new guests on the show. Help us out with that, and I'm happy about this. I'm overall,
Same.
I am happy, and I think that if anything, whatever the quarterback, I think that I have some faith that the quarterback situation will at least head in a positive direction. I don't know if we'll get it right. I don't know when we'll get it fixed, but I just think I trust this more than I trusted anything we've had for a while. So excited about that.
Same.
That's all I got to say.
Yeah. And listen, like I said, we're going to be here tomorrow at 7 p.m. Another version of the Friday Free For All. I already know the pickle, white chocolate. G baby, you better show up again tomorrow, bro. We're going to need your energy again, dude.
Yeah. Yo, Cody, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. I got Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock tickets.
Oh, shit. For real?
Yeah, they're in Charleston.
Damn. I envy you, bro. That ought to be a fucking crazy show.
It better be, much as I paid.
I'm sure it is. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been another edition of the C3 Panthers podcast. We have our head coach, damn it. Celebrate, be happy, be excited for the future. Evan will be doing it again. You already know what to do. Keep pound.